X in my name is not just a symbol or a target sign. A spell that attracts all who spit facts online all the time. Can you see it? All the ones who drag my name every single day. Can you see it? Can you see it? Can you see it? They keep saying you don't have what it takes to carve out your own name underneath the shadows of gods. And I keep waiting for the day disbelievers say I flew way too close to the sun. I wait, but it never really comes. The X in my name is not just a symbol or a target sign. A spell that attracts all who speak facts online all the time. The X in my name is not just a symbol or a target sign. A force that compels all to rebel from all that shackled minds. Why do they just stand there against when they fall from the battles I have overcome? You feel it, feel the cope and the seething tone that they make while I stand up, man among gods. And I keep faithing with my mill, shooting ropes in my cold that faces towards the sun. They hate, but I'm sitting comfy with their mom. The X in my name is not just a symbol or a target sign. A spell that attracts all who speak facts online all the time. The X in my name is not just a symbol or a target sign. A force that compels all to rebel from all that shackled mind. The X in my name is not just a symbol or a target sign. A spell that attracts all who speak facts online all the time. The X in my name is not just a symbol or a target sign. A force that compels all to rebel from all that shadowed minds. It's you and me, your mom, it's me. I'm taking another hit from my name. You see now, watch me right now, punch your things now. Show you how.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hello, hello. I apologize if I'm not super in a good mood right now, because seconds ago, and I mean seconds ago, as I was rushing back to my PC during my intro running, trying to get my drinks here, I smashed the shit out of this finger in my door, right in the metal, like between the metal parts, hard, because I was like swinging my door shut really hard. I like kicked it shut to like close it behind me because I was in such a hurry, and my finger was just the last thing in the doorway. I didn't move my hand out of the way fast enough, and it's turning purple, bro. Like, I think you guys might be able to see it, but it fucking hurts. No, full-on Tom and Jerry yell, absolutely. For like the entirety of that intro running, I just went, oh, oh. Like, it really is fucked up. I'm glad I didn't bust the fingernail in half. Go ice it? I can't. I just started stream. I gotta do my stream. Oh, God, that fucking hurts. Oh, fuck. Get some ice, dude? I don't have any ice. Why do you assume I own ice? I don't have an ice machine. Oh. Oh, it's definitely not broken, but oh my god, that fucking hurts. Holy shit. Oh. Ah, and it's not like a crush. It wasn't a crush. It was more of like a pincer, if that makes sense, because it was right in the corner of the door and the corner of the door frame, and just smashed it right in there, metal on flesh. Oh my god. Oh, yeah, I've got my freezing water, guys. Don't worry. Stop micromanaging me. Oh my god, though. It is not pleasant. Do not recommend, ever being distracted, I guess, while you go through your home. I have very bad problems with hurting myself when anyone tries to talk to me while I'm, like, doing a task. Like, I'll bash my leg into something or just badly hurt myself because I'm not focusing on where I'm going. And, oh my god, holy crap. Dude, I hope I'm okay. Jesus, that is a weird feeling. It's a weird new kind of pain. Like, it's the bone is definitely hurt to some extent, but not broken, because this is a new kind of pain, and it feels like bone pain, if that's how it's supposed to feel. Oh my god. Throb? No, it is not a throbbing. It is a consistent, sustained, deep, dull hurt. I've smashed the shit out of my fingers before, worse, so I think it's fine. It just fucking hurts, dude. What the fuck? And it's not a fleeting pain. It's sticking around way too long. Way longer than it's welcome. Xanderall, a couple days ago, I was playing with some Beyblades, and I pulled the launcher so hard that it broke off from the grip, and the Beyblade went flying halfway across the room, and I was holding launcher and grip in two different hands. The launcher was dangling by the string. Dude, yeah, that's dangerous, man. You gotta be careful. You gotta be careful. I feel like one of those Beyblades could go flying and hit you in the face or the teeth and really do a lot of damage. That's actually a big fear I have around Beyblades. God. Ooh. Just gonna open and close my hand for a bit. It's this finger. This knuckle here doesn't want to really bend like it's supposed to, so I'm making it do that. There we go. This movement, for some reason, is making it feel better. I don't know why, but this feels better. Oh, and I popped it. Alright. Okay, it hurts a lot less now. Ugh, what a horrible way to start stream. Jesus Christ. My god. Like seconds before it's time for me to be on camera, just smashing my finger in the door. Oh my lord. Just started a D&D campaign yesterday. I hope it goes well, Thought Queen. How's everybody doing? Popcorn is life. No more Transformers watch party requests, okay? This is the last warning. It's getting annoying. I enjoyed the debate. Tim Walz looks strong. Lady Pants, JD Vance just chowed down on the poop cookie Trump gave him. What? I enjoyed the debate. Tim Walz looks strong. Lady Pants, JD Vance. That was an incomprehensible comment, but I get the spirit of it. I get the spirit, but none of those words are in the Bible. What's up, Andy Ackerman? Welcome. New emoji idea, yelling from Tom and Jerry. Yeah. Oh. Ooh. Ooh. I'll be alright. Jesus Christ. Were there any big moments after Vance cried about getting fact-checked? Not that I know of. I watched the rest of it, and it wasn't all that eventful through the rest of it. At least no particular moments I found super big. Have you covered the Godot engine situation? Isn't Godot a free game engine that people can use to make games in? Is it still free? Did something happen? Thank you, Alice. I appreciate it. God. It's getting better. It's just like... It's the fingernail bed that hurts. Because I smashed it, like, on my fingernail bed. And that's the kind of pain that just feels so weird. If you've ever smashed your fingernail bed before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's just... It feels fucking odd, dude. Like, it hurts a lot, don't get me wrong, like, but that's not the weird part. That's hard to ignore. Like, if it was just pain, it'd be easy to ignore. It's weird. It feels weird, and it hurts, you know what I mean? Ugh. 25th YouTube like, nobody here is a real one. It is wild how low engagement is from lefty audiences. I think it might actually be the lowest engagement rate of, like, any audience of content on YouTube. We got 85 people here and 25 likes. Come on, guys, hit that like button. What are you doing? You guys think your likes don't matter? Are you gonna vote? Probably not. Yeah, it's still free and it's getting attacked by the anti-woke mob. Why would they attack a free game? Okay, to be fair, there's no reason for them to attack any of the things they attack, so I don't even know why I'm baffled at that. I like Tell, yeah, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Am I going to cover the Actman Andy Pants debate? I already did, Andy Ackerman. I already did. Has it not gone up on YouTube yet? Let me check. Is it not out? Oh, it's not. Okay. Damn, alright. That explains it. Liking videos doesn't matter? No, it does. It really does. Both sides are equally bad. No, I will not explain what the hell that even means. No, trust me. Liking videos matters. Like, it really does, though. It helps a lot. Somebody actually, one of my favorite examples that someone brought up. Wait a second, where'd my music go? What the hell? No way did I close my music tabs. What? There's no way I mindlessly closed my music tabs. Man, I must be so distracted by my finger. Dude, I'm like closing my music out and shit. Oh my lord. I am so distracted today. I'm sorry. Oh. Zan, I was watching the 80s show a while ago. There's a fictional country called Karbamia. It's a communist Middle Eastern country called Karbambia. Damn it, Hasbro. 80s TF Transformers show. Popcorn is life. I don't care about Transformers. Why do you guys do this? Why do you guys pick your favorite, like, hyper obsession and force it on me? I'm the only one who's allowed to do that. TSW the Shadow Wolf, thank you for the tier 3 membership, or sorry, the tier 1 membership for 3 months. I appreciate it a lot, thank you. Said, Xander Hall, I have decided to start using the member chats. I will send a link in site chat, though. I have decided to start using the member chats? Sure. I mean, that works too. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your support. I should like the videos more, but to be fair, I usually already seen its content on streams. I mean, you don't have to watch the video if you don't want to. I just mean if you watch a video from me, it's really helpful if you hit the like button. It means a lot. Zan, have you played any Helldivers lately? Not lately, because I'm waiting for them to add the Illuminate to the game. And it just seems like it seems like they've been around the corner for months now, with like constant leaked models and stuff in the game files, but they just haven't been like introduced yet. Alright. Here it is, the Return of the King, Lightning El Drago. What is this? Is this a Beyblade thing? No, we're not Beyblading, okay? If you're gonna get me to watch Beyblade stuff, you gotta donate for that, alright? You gotta donate me videos about Beyblade. Brother, join us in the crusade against the Xenos in Space Marine 2. I want to. I've seen some gameplay and it looks cool, but I don't want to pick up a new game right now. You guys know that vibe? Where you're just not, like, in a spot at the moment where you're really looking for a new game? My nose won't stop itching. I need to, like, rub it with something that is coarse. Technically, I did donate by being a member of your channel on YouTube. Also, this is one you should recognize. It is a remake. I wouldn't recognize it, TSW, the Shadow Wolf. I didn't play Beyblade. I played Beyblades, like, very briefly, as in I had, like, 2 bays, maybe, and I had, like, a little plastic arena and stuff, and I remember having one of those, like, ripcord things, and that it bent, like, in one, like, where the teeth were, it, like, bent, and had this line through the plastic that permanently fucked it, and made it so you couldn't use the ripcord anymore, and I couldn't Beyblade anymore, and then, I mean, that was when I was, like, 8. That was the last time I've done anything with Beyblades. Yeah, mainly the games you're waiting for haven't come out yet. Yeah, in my case, that is very much where I'm at. A lot of the games I'm super looking forward to just haven't released yet. But Hytale's pretty close to release. Apparently, Hypixel has been reaching out to big YouTubers, and giving them merch, like free Hytale merch. A lot of these YouTubers have already shown interest in Hytale, and I think it was just sort of like a reminder, like, oh, we're getting close to launch. And they sent some to, like, Tommy Innit and all the big Minecraft YouTubers, obviously. But they also sent it to, like, Pirate Software, the Thor dude who made, what's it called, Soulbound? That one indie game? Pretty good. Pretty good stuff. I'm excited. Dude, last night was the launch of a new MMO that all my friends are playing called Throne and Liberty. And I installed it, and I stayed up until 5 a.m. clicking between the server regions, trying to get into the server all my friends are on, with no luck whatsoever. I wasn't even able to make a character, and I'm hoping I can today, but I am starting to grow genuine resentment for the game now. That, like, all my friends are playing it, and I'm Squidward looking out the window, and it won't let me make a character on that server because it's such a high pop server. And it's launched, so I'm hard missing the launch, which fucking blows. I hope they sent something to Quebec Corner. Yeah, I think they did. I think they definitely did. They literally invited him out to the studio, I think. Here. You know what? We haven't done a Hytale stun lock in a while. I feel like now we can justify it. Because I imagine a good amount of you here don't even know about Hytale. Like, a lot of you guys might not be super in the know on it. And usually I would just show the trailer, but a lot of you guys here now I know have already seen it a million times. So instead, I'm just going to show the newest Quebec Corner video. I'll speed it up a little bit. But this is the most recent news. This video came out a few days ago. This is the most recent news about Hytale. We're getting pretty fucking close to launch now that they're getting big YouTubers on board with, like, promotion.
Hytale has been reaching out to huge streamers like Pirate Software and Tommy Innit as things finally start to get serious for this upcoming game.
By the way, the people from Hytale reached out to me.
It's been a wild few months as far as Hytale updates go, with 2 new blog posts, the new engine reveal, Scarrick overhaul, and
It sucks having had to wait so long for this game, but at the same time, it's so worth it. And I've believed this for years, even when I'm, like, the most angry about having to wait. I've always known it's gonna be more worth it to wait. There's a reason why Riot has been like, yo, delay this shit. Because they gave them a lot more money. They went from having, like, I think 12 people working on the game when it was announced to now over 100 and, like, I think 110 people. Like, over 110 people work at Hypixel Studios now. When was this announced? Late 2019 or 2018. Like, right, I think it was December 13th, 2018 they announced this. And when they announced it, it was supposed to come out about a year later in beta. But they delayed it, like, up until probably next year is looking like when it's going to come out, based on what they've been up to lately. And a lot of that has to do with the engine. They went back and made bespoke a whole new engine to have the game on, which is what's taken up a lot of the delay over the last few years. But they're also working on features on the side and porting them over to the new engine. But now the engine is done. And they've pretty much got the game, like, design-wise, done, you know? Like, right now, they're bringing YouTubers out to playtest the game. Like, we're really close to launch. Like, a surprise, like, release date announcement could come out any day. Like, realistically, we're that close.
And all sorts of other teasers.
It feels that way, at least as someone who's been waiting for the game since 2018. Like, it feels like we're close, and there's reasons for that.
Naturally, this has caused a huge surge in conversation online. It seems everyone in the community has some kind of opinion, including huge streamer and game developer Pirate Software, who has blown up on Twitch and YouTube over the last few years. He's worked with a bunch of big game companies, including Blizzard, and he's a really funny, insightful guy. So when a viewer asked about Hytale on stream, he actually knew about it and brought up the team's lack of communication.
Like, the last update was June
true.
27th, 2023, and before that it was July 22nd, 2022. This shit needs to be updated. Don't do this once a year.
I get why they went so low contact, because they explicitly didn't want people agonizing over the wait, and it's easier to put the game to the back of your mind. Like, the game doesn't... There's no way for you to financially support this game before it comes out. It might even end up being free to play. We don't know how it's going to be monetized yet. And so there's no, like, reason or need for them to have a massive group of people nonstop obsessed and hyped for the game when they've got Riot and their funding to advertise it and hype up the launch when the time comes. So they've explicitly said they want to be more low-key during the length of these last few years of delay, because they don't want people to be constantly thinking about the game until it's ready to come out. You know, that's just not fun. Waiting sucks when you are thinking about the wait. But I definitely do think it would have been better if they kept us more up to date on, like, development and stuff. Then on the other hand, I don't want to be spoiled. I want to go into the game as blind as possible. I want there to be as little stuff even publicly known as possible before the game launches. They've already shown us a lot, enough to know it's going to be amazing. I've seen enough. I don't want to see any more until I play the game, you know what I mean? Like, and I don't want anyone else to see more until we can all play the game, because I don't want to be spoiled.
Like, talk to them. Because there's a lot of people very interested in this, and a lot of people would love to move off of the dog shit that Mojang is doing right now, because it is. It's terrible. The whole thing with Bedrock is just a goddamn nightmare. Turning it into an MTX store is a goddamn nightmare. No modding API is a goddamn nightmare. This was the one chance. This was the shining thing that everyone was looking at, being like...
Hey, Evergriddle, what's up? As happy as I am with Mojang's recent announcement about more frequent updates, it's going to be really good for vanilla Minecraft. It's going to be the best thing ever for vanilla Minecraft, don't get me wrong. But the more frequent updates, the multiple times a year guaranteed updates, are going to potentially kill the modding community, or at least deal it a very near lethal blow, unless they implement some kind of mod. I don't know if it would be a mod API. I don't know if it would be some kind of easy ability to port mods to new versions. Yeah, Mojang got rid of the mod vote. Yeah, that was a good change. I liked that they didn't do that this year. And I liked the new changes that they showed off in the announcement for the next update. The creaking and stuff, that looked pretty cool. I like the new stuff they're bringing to the game, and I like that they're going to be bringing new stuff like that more frequently. But it also means that Minecraft modded is going to be so fucked. You know how, like, 1.12 was, like, established for a long time as the modded version that everyone did modding for? It's not ideal, though. 1.12 isn't all that optimized compared to, say, 1.19 or 1.20. The problem is, I don't know how the community settles on a new version to just chill with to make mods for. And what if a new version comes out that ends up like bringing a bunch of cool new stuff, and all these mods only exist for previous versions, and all the mod packs only exist in previous versions and lack those features? It's like, man. Yeah, 1.16, I mean, that's a massive update that you miss out on if you're playing 1.12 mod packs. At least there's mods that bring the new features to older versions, but those aren't going to continue existing forever, right? Like, 1.12 isn't going to have a 1.30 additions mod. I think 1.12 will be long dead by the time we hit 1.30. I use 1.19.2 for mods for some reason. All my mod packs are there. I mean, 1.19.2 was like a long version, so there are a lot of mods for it. 1.21 is doing pretty well when it comes to mods as well. It's been out for a good amount of time, and it seems relatively easy to mod compared to older versions, so I've seen a lot of mods out for it. But, man, the more frequent updates are going to make mods constantly out of date. It's going to mean a lot of mods become lost media because their developers don't want to keep them updated all the time. That's why a lot of those old classic mods from early Minecraft don't exist anymore, and some of them are even lost media now. It's because the devs couldn't handle the non-stop demand of updating their mods with every new, like, 5 edition, every 5 weeks Minecraft update that was the norm back then. It really made the Minecraft modding community scattered and unorganized back in the day.
Like, holy shit, we might be able to escape Minecraft for once. And you stop talking to people. I just want to shake you. Like, come on.
It's clear he has a passion for what Hypixel Studios are doing, and he definitely sees the potential Hytale could have as a platform and ecosystem.
So yeah, no, I was excited for Hytale. I'm still excited for Hytale. I'm just concerned. I'm concerned because they stopped talking. It sucks.
Now, this clip was from before all the recent news, and it seems like over the last few weeks, he's actually been contacted by the team. Check this out.
By the way, the people from Hytale reached out to me, and that's kind of cool. So I've been talking to them, and I'm going to have more information, maybe, to share sometime soon. Because I'm very excited for Hytale. Yeah. I've been excited for a long time. I've been worried about it, and I've been excited about it at the same time.
It's actually really exciting to see someone with his background is being reached out to, and he even says that he could share some details soon, although soon could mean a lot of things. Maybe he's being asked to provide some advice or feedback.
So, the reason why this tells me we're like getting towards an imminent launch is that the Hytale team has been very explicit with their reasoning for why they haven't done a lot of communication over the years. Like I said before, they didn't want us thinking about the wait. The fact they're now reaching out to YouTubers and doing things that imply they want people thinking about the wait means we're close. Because they've stated numerous times definitively they're not going to start hyping things up and really getting the wheel turning on getting people's attention on the game again until we are getting towards launch. So that's where we're at right now. It looks pretty likely we're headed towards launch. I think they've all but confirmed that, like implied it at least, based on like more recent blog posts. All good, Orm Azure.
Back as a streamer and creator, or it could even be that he's been invited to a playtest to get his opinion on the game. The fact that he sounds hopeful at all, though, is a good thing. And what I think actually happened here is that the team saw that clip that I showed you from earlier and decided to contact him, which I think was a really great move on their part, especially after what people thought of the last blog post. In fact, that's one of the key things causing a lot of debate and conversation right now. So again, to add some context for those of you out of the loop, Hytale's newest blog post revealed the first look at their new engine and confirmed that it's being brought up to the level that the old one was at. In fact, it's on track to be the most playable version of the game so far by the end of the year, with all sorts of features and experiences starting to be ported over. They also...
Dude, this is one of my favorite things that I've seen shown off about Hytale. When I saw this, I was like, no fucking shot.
...of the game so far by the end of the year, with all sorts of...
Pay attention to this character right here, and what she does.
...features and experiences...
A 4-block jump, and then grabbing onto the ledge and pulling yourself up. If you do a high jump, you can grab onto a ledge and pull yourself up. That's not even I guarantee you that is not the most impressive thing about the game's movement system. Like that there's no way. They've shown us like rolls and dodges and shit, like Dark Souls style movement. I'm wondering if it's going to end up playing a bit Souls-like with its combat. It looks like it's going to play a bit Souls-like, and that has me pretty hyped. I really liked, this may sound crazy, but Lego Fortnite was literally just Lego Dark Souls, but with an open world and building. I don't know if any of you guys haven't played it, but if you have played it, you know exactly what I mean. Like, you have to do perfect parries, and you don't have a attack button, you have a swing your sword animation button, and hopefully your sword makes physical contact with the enemy and does damage. Like that kind of thing. It's pretty cool. I liked how Lego Fortnite did it, but this looks way deeper than that. But it looks like it could play a bit Souls-like.
Starting to be ported over. They also stated that 2025 would be a year of development where they'll be reaching out for feedback from industry creatives and creators as they begin to fully design gameplay, creative tools, and online experiences for testing. Whilst this is pretty good news, many people, however, were distracted by the actual gameplay footage that was revealed. I mean, it's not even really gameplay footage, more like an in-engine video, with people pointing out inconsistencies and their worry about how simplistic the shot was, that we should have got more than just a basic camera zoom in on a chest and a tree, and that a lot of the graphical bugs were really concerning, to say the least. Some were just happy that the team was being transparent.
People complained that when they show bits of the game, they wait to show us stuff that is like in a feature complete state that looks like really good and has been like finished up and polished, because they didn't want to showcase things that weren't finished and didn't look as good yet. And people were like, well, show us more stuff, even if it's like not done yet. We'll understand. And they were like, okay, well, here's a sneak peek at our engine. It's not fully finished yet, but it's coming along. People were like, I don't know, that engine doesn't look as good as the original one. And they're like, guys, we told you it was in development. We told you would react this way, and then you said you wouldn't.
And telling us exactly what was going on, not trying to dress anything up for camera, and even giving us some milestones to look forward to. For some, however, it really did just feel like too little, or even just a bit off from what regular blog posts we usually get. Some people even claiming it felt rushed and a bit confusing to follow. The team did respond to a few of these criticisms with some posts on Twitter, first and foremost pointing out that some of the inconsistencies we saw between the new versus old engine comparison videos, such as the missing branches here and the static torches, were 100% just a placeholder, with the community manager even saying that everything that made Hytale's trees and foliage unique and special will eventually return. The game director for Hytale, John Hendricks, also clarified that by completing this whole fill-in-the-blanks milestone...
For those who don't know, they switched Hytale onto a custom-made engine. Apparently, like, already existing engines aren't really good for making a good block game. Like, oh yeah, Thomas for French, I'm covering that today. Like, if you don't know, like, Java is actually one of the better programs or better engines or coding languages that you can make a game in that's like a blocky type game. It's not optimized, and it eats up RAM, and it doesn't even work with a lot of RAM all that well, and it crashes, and it fucks up, and it's really unintuitive for modders and like coders that aren't, you know, experienced with Java. My understanding is that like Java coding language doesn't really share much with like other coding languages, so you kind of have to be a Java guy to code in Java. But like, just besides that, like, we know how Minecraft is. It doesn't run very well. It's like, it kind of feels a little taped together, if that makes sense, right? And so they were using an off-the-shelf engine for Hytale originally, and that is not ideal. Like, if we want to have this, like, big AAA, like, blows Minecraft and everything that came before out-of-the-water block game, it's going to need to have a custom engine with a multi-million-dollar budget behind it that was made specifically for this block game. And that is what they did. And frankly, I could not be happier. I am tired of having to settle for Minecraft, the block game that, while being the most popular in the world, even its creator started their... I know someone who worked at Mojang. The first thing Notch ever said to them was, sorry about the code. Because Notch was fully self-aware about the fact that when he made Minecraft initially, he wasn't exactly a master Java coder. And Minecraft has been built on all of that, and they've had to sort of, you know, untangle the spaghetti code since then. But nothing will change the fact that Minecraft Java is on Java. Like, nothing will ever change that fact. It's still gonna have all those problems. This will not have those problems. It'll be custom made from the ground up to work as best as possible. I'm so fucking hyped, dude.
By the end of the year, it's going to greatly inform and ratify their roadmap going forward, meaning that they'll be in a much better place to plan and eventually share their timeline for launch. Now, John did get a bit of pushback and some criticism online, with one user saying the entire game is a placeholder at this point, and he replied saying that that is a fair thing to say about any game that is in pre-alpha. The user then went on to state that they, quote, remember when it was not a pre-alpha before, and that the team have decided to change the code language of the engine under Riot Games' pressure. And that's where we got a lot more clarification from John. He said he'll probably elaborate on this further in personal development updates, but he had 2 corrections to make. The first is that alpha is generally described as all functionality, but still full of bugs.
They didn't have pressure from Riot Games. They had funding. Like, when Hytale was originally announced, it was an indie game. Like, as good as it might have been, it was only going to be as good as an indie game could be. Now they have the funding and team size of a AAA game, and all the creative freedom that comes with it. If you were making your magnum opus, if you and your friends got together to make your magnum opus project, and then a billion-dollar corporation came along and said, hey, we'd like to fund you, like, I don't know, hundreds of millions of dollars probably, if I were to guess, to bring in experts at this thing that you're doing to help you spend as much time as you need to make this magnum opus project of yours as good as possible. You would take that offer 100 times out of 100. Any day of the week, and that is what they did, and we will be better off in the long run for it.
He says they still were in a pre-alpha back when they were showing off things 2 or 3 years ago, but with significantly more content than is typical for most games, which of course they are now benefiting from in the new engine. There's so much that they've been developing over years.
That's where a lot of the anger comes from. They've shown us so much stuff that I feel like a lot of people are distrusting of the idea that the game isn't ready to be released yet. You know what I mean? Like, people are like, how can the game not be feature complete and polished yet when you've shown off so much stuff and so much gameplay that has so much stuff in it? Like, so many different things, from combat to the AI to cooking to farming to mining to just go down the list to, like, prefabs and different weapon types to the different, like, creatures in the lore. How can it not be ready yet, like, when it's been so long? That's like what people's thought process is. They don't understand the concept of a vertical slice, or the concept of, like, if you're going to show off stuff from your game that's in development, you're going to exclusively show off the stuff that's ready to be shown off. And so people think everything else in the game, which we don't even know the full scope of yet, we just know it's huge, because why would they be showing us this much stuff if there's not a lot more? So what we've already seen is so big that we can only assume it's a lot bigger, when, you know, because there's a lot we haven't seen. Why should, like, people are assuming that the rest of the game is as feature complete and done as what we've seen and been showcased. It's obviously not. Just a lot of people that don't know how game development works. What do I think of Minecraft Bedrock Edition? I am so glad that Mojang is finally fixing it. They're starting, apparently, with adding hardcore mode to it, which is a long-needed change
that they can literally just port over. He also confirmed that Hypixel were the ones who made the engine change decision, and that there was no pressure from Riot to do so. I mean, I will play devil's advocate with this one and say that Riot Games probably does have a little bit of control over what the team are doing, and maybe even the subtlest amount of pressure, considering they've been waiting so long for a return on their investment. But from everything the team has said over the last 4 or 5 years, they're letting Hypixel Studios go their own route. The game director then also did follow up by posting a mini update to celebrate working on Hytale for 4 years now. One specific paragraph actually refers to the game, stating, quote, "It's big, we haven't taken many shortcuts, obviously, but things are moving faster since last year, after we had the first external playtest and the new engine started coming online." He said that this year has felt like a blur in comparison, and if things keep going, the team...
Yeah, that's a big deal, too. They're not doing just internal playtests anymore. They're doing external playtests now. That means the game's in a pretty good place. I miss the days of 1.4 to 1.8 when servers had that creative plot worlds were more active. Yeah, I miss when, God, my favorite era was probably... Obviously, Minecraft Beta was peak, but, like, in terms of release, I would say 1.2.5 was my favorite Minecraft version, because I feel like that's when servers were in the perfect spot. You know what I mean? Like, the mod packs were great. There were still survival servers that were just, you spawned in, and there was a, like, land-protected spawn area, and then you could just go out into the world. And there was no land protection, usually, just go out, find a place, and survive. The only, like, server that really has that vibe anymore is 2B2T. But there was a time when every server's spawn looks like 2B2Ts, you know? I miss the old days. I feel old now, chat. Old and repulsive. Alrighty. Man, I'm excited for Hytale. Thank you for indulging with me, chat, in the Hytale Stunlock. Yo, Unity Space Cyber, thank you for the tier 1 sub. I really appreciate it. Said, I learned so much from you. Thank you. Oh, really? Thank you so much for the kind words. I'm glad you learned from me. I try my best to educate myself, and even if I imagine like 99% of you know most of these things already, I hope to educate at least one of you on something. So, you know, it's mostly about entertainment and convincing arguments, but if I can give you information that helps you to, you know, mull over your beliefs and solidify them in a well-reasoned and logical position and place, then there you go. That's a success. That's a W in my book. Alrighty. Are you guys ready for the first segment of the day? Well, guess what? I don't care if you're ready or not. We're doing it. Hehe. Alright. Y'all know what to do when I say action, right? 3, 2, 1, action. Alright, everybody. You guys are gonna laugh at this. I know most of you guys don't even know about this yet. One person in chat so far has brought it up. But this is today's news. Like, and when I say today's, I mean this came out a couple hours ago. From ABC News. Bombshell immunity filing... Oh, god dang it. Sorry, throat is dry. Bombshell immunity filing details Trump's alleged increasingly desperate bid to overturn the 2020 election. Special counsel Jack Smith has outlined new details of former President Donald Trump and his allies' sweeping and increasingly desperate attempts to overturn his 2020 election loss. In a blockbuster court filing Wednesday aimed at defending Smith's prosecution of Trump following the Supreme Court's July immunity ruling, Trump intentionally lied to the public, state election officials, and his own vice president in an effort to cling to power after losing the election, while privately describing some of the claims of election fraud that he made, by the way, as crazy. Prosecutors alleged in the 165-page filing. Quote, when the defendant lost the 2020 presidential election, he resorted to crimes to try to stay in office, unquote, the filing said. With private co-conspirators, the defendant launched a series of increasingly desperate plans to overturn the legitimate election results in 7 states that he had lost. When Trump's efforts to overturn the election through lawsuits and fraudulent electors failed to change the outcome of the election, prosecutors alleged that the former president fomented violence, with prosecutors describing Trump as directly responsible for the tinderbox that he purposefully ignited on January 6th. You know, maybe it's good that the legal system is so slow, because a lot of these things, all this legal trouble that Trump has gone through for crimes that he committed a long time ago, mind you, it's not even the legal process going slow, like in a lot of these cases. Trump has tried to delay a lot of these court cases and these, filings and stuff and these court appearances as much as possible. He submits appeals. He submits as many delays and requests for reschedules as possible. He is desperate to just put off all of his legal trouble, and for some reason they let him do it. But now it seems to all be catching up with him, where in this last year, he's having to do constant back-to-back-to-back legal trials. It feels like he's pushed it back as much as possible, and he thought he could get it pushed back another year, and now it's all coming in and collapsing down on him in the last year of the election. The year of the election. As Trump said, when you're rich, they let you do it. Quote, the defendant also knew that he had only one last hope to prevent Biden's certification as president, the large and angry crowd standing in front of him. So for more than an hour, the defendant delivered a speech designed to inflame his supporters and motivate them to march to the Capitol. The lengthy filing, which includes an 80-page summary of the evidence gathered by investigators, outlines multiple instances in which Trump allegedly heard from advisors who disapproved of his allegations, yet continued to spread his claims of outcome-determinative voter fraud, prosecutors said. It doesn't matter if you won or lost the election. You still have to fight like hell. Oh, sorry, let me do it in his voice.
It doesn't matter if you won or lost the election. You still have to fight like hell.
Trump allegedly told members of his family following the 2020 election, the filing said. I believe that 100%, by the way. Who remembers that, that famous situation where Tucker Carlson's texts, his private text messages, had leaked, and you could see numerous stories that he covered and towed the conservative line on for Trump? He would talk in private about how they were insane conspiracy theories and unfounded, and he didn't know how he was going to find a way to spin the insanity that the Fox News executives have sent his way. It's just... it's amazing. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Tucker, texts, leaked, court. That should bring it up. Oh, here's a good example. Spreading election lies. Sidney Powell is lying, Carlson told a Fox News producer in a November 16, 2020 exchange before using expletives to describe Powell, an attorney representing Trump. Quote, you keep telling our viewers that millions of votes were changed by the software. I hope you will prove that very soon, Carlson wrote to Powell a day later. You've convinced them that Trump will win. If you don't have conclusive evidence of fraud at that scale, it's a cruel and reckless thing to keep saying. There was no indication that Powell replied. Fox attorneys noted that Carlson repeatedly questioned Powell's claims in his broadcasts. When we kept pressing, she got angry and told us to stop contacting her, Carlson told viewers on November 19, 2020. Carlson told his audience that he had taken Powell seriously, but that she had never provided any evidence or demonstrated that the software Dominion used siphoned votes from Trump to Biden. Carlson continued to trash Powell and Trump's legal team in a November 23, 2020 text exchange with a fellow Fox host, Laura Ingraham, and also bemoaned what he considered the president's passivity in the face of the two Georgia runoffs. After saying it was pretty disgusting that more attorneys hadn't pushed back on the claims of Trump's attorneys who were trying to overturn the election results, Carlson wrote, and now Trump, I learned this morning, is sitting back and letting them lose the Senate. He doesn't care. I care. I've got 4 kids and plan to live here. In an exchange with an unknown person on January 4th, 2021, Carlson expressed anger towards Trump. He said that we are very, very close to being able to ignore Trump most nights, and that I truly can't wait. Carlson said he had no doubt that there was fraud in the 2020 election, but said Trump and his lawyers had so discredited their case and media figures like himself that it's infuriating and absolutely enrages him. Addressing Trump's 4 years as president, Carlson said, we're all pretending we've got a lot to show for it because admitting what a disaster it's been is too tough to digest. But come on, there really isn't an upside to Trump. In text early on the morning of January 7, 2021, a day after the violent assault at the U.S. Capitol, Carlson and his longtime producer, Alex Pfeiffer, bemoaned how the rioters had believed Trump's election lies. Quote, they take the president literally, Pfeiffer said. He is to blame for everything that happened today. Quote, the problem is a little deeper than that, I'd say, Carlson replied. Quote, obviously the problems are deep, but at the core of it, Trump is saying it was stolen, Pfeiffer wrote. Not the core, Carlson wrote. Awful, but a symptom. Later, Carlson writes of Trump, he's a demonic force, a destroyer, but he's not going to destroy us. I've been thinking about this every day for 4 years. So, basically just a shit ton of leaked texts where it's Tucker Carlson basically just casually being a grifter. Like, it's just there, like, you can see his, like, entire process of being like, are we gonna promote this on the show? Like, I gotta push this? Like, okay, if that's what the executives are saying, you know what I mean? In a statement, Trump campaign spokesperson Stephen Chung said that the release of the filing was an attempt to interfere with the upcoming election following Tuesday's vice presidential debate. Interesting how every single legal trial or trouble or tribulation that Trump ends up in is somehow, some way, just meant to hurt him in the election. But his going after Biden, or I should say Hunter Biden, isn't, I guess? Also, the DOJ literally indicted Hunter Biden, and that's not them doing political lawfare on the Bidens, but it is when they go after Trump himself for crimes that he's committed. Like, somehow the DOJ is, like, corrupt and in Biden's pocket, but they also indicted his son. They believe this. It's... we are dealing with people who have a completely optional reality, different from our own. They've elected to not live in the same world as us. In her order allowing the redacted filing to become public, U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan, who has been overseeing the case, addressed the defense's accusations of partisan bias. Quote, defendant's opposition brief repeatedly accuses the government of bad faith partisan bias, the judge wrote. These accusations, for which defendant provides no support, continue a pattern of defense filing focus on political rhetoric rather than an addressing of the legal issues at hand. Quote, not only is that focus unresponsive and unhelpful to the court, but it is also unbefitting of the experienced defense counsel and undermining of the judicial proceedings in this case, Judge Chutkan wrote. Future filings should be directed to the issues before the court. According to prosecutors, Trump, quote, laid the groundwork for his crimes well before 2020's election day, including by sowing doubt among his supporters and planning to declare victory immediately, despite multiple advisors telling him that the results were unlikely to be finalized on election day. Prosecutors allege that Trump and his allies sought to create chaos at polling places, including one instance when a campaign employee encouraged a colleague to, quote, make them riot at an ongoing vote count in Detroit, which the former president later used to support his claims of voter fraud. Quote, the through line of these efforts... this is the filing, not Trump. The through line of these efforts was deceit. The defendant and the co-conspirators knowingly false claims of election fraud, the filing said. In addition to outlining the instances when Trump was directly corrected about his allegations of voter fraud, the filing said Trump privately called allegations of voter fraud made by his lawyer Sidney Powell crazy, despite employing similar arguments to cast doubt on the legitimacy of the election, prosecutors allege. Trump last year pleaded not guilty to federal charges of undertaking a criminal scheme to overturn the results of the 2020 election in order to remain in power. Wednesday's filing comes at a pivotal moment in the case as Judge Chutkan is set to begin considering whether any of the allegations included in the government's case are protected by presidential immunity after the Supreme Court ruled in a blockbuster decision that Trump is entitled to immunity from criminal prosecution for official acts undertaken while in office. That's right, he's immune now from any crimes he commits while in office. He's got an unironic, literal, cartoon logic get out of jail free card if and when he's president. In August, Smiths filed a pared-down indictment that removed allegations likely to have been considered official acts, including Trump's interactions with Justice Department officials to interfere with the election. While still charging the former president with the same 4 criminal counts he originally faced, last week, Smith filed a sealed brief seeking to justify the superseding indictment, then sought to file a redacted version for public release. Trump's lawyers opposed Wednesday's lengthy filing, which they described as tantamount to a premature and improper special counsel report, and argued that public release of the allegations would improperly influence the election and violate Department of Justice policies. Judge Chutkan, who has long stated that the election does not play a factor in her decision-making, ordered the filing to be publicly released Wednesday. In justifying his case against Trump, Smith alleged that Trump acted as an office seeker rather than an office holder when he committed crimes, and that he must stand trial for his private crimes as would any other citizen. Quote, although the defendant was the incumbent president during the charged conspiracies, his scheme was fundamentally a private one, Wednesday's filing said. So, it looks like the prosecutors, and mind you, a judge that is not sympathetic to Trump by any means. They've got, going back about a year now, you've got Trump disrespecting this judge, I think literally threatened or encouraged threats that did happen on the judge's family. He's done this multiple times to multiple judges, but this particular judge has gotten it arguably the worst. So this judge is not biased in favor of Trump, to be very clear, and the prosecutors are heavily pushing to not only, charge Trump, indict him, but to also prevent the immunity ruling from the Supreme Court from saving his ass. Hopefully they are successful. I'm so happy that Republicans cannot claim that Trump really did believe that the election had been stolen. I mean, they will continue to claim that. They'll claim to believe they think the election was stolen. They'll lie to your face even when you know they're lying, and then they'll call you a liar and smirk at you. That's what they do. That's what they do, man. There was a part in that brief where it talks about an aide telling Trump that Pence was in danger on Jan 6th, and Trump just says, so what? Yeah. Dude, I'm so... Could you imagine if Michael Pence... I guess his name is Michael Pence. Could you imagine if Mike Pence, like, bent the knee again and ran as vice president in 2024? Obviously, Trump wouldn't let him because he didn't help to, overturn the election, but imagine if Trump did. Imagine if Trump was like, okay, come back, Vance sucks too much, please. We need someone who's not awful, you know, someone who doesn't make me look bad, if that's even possible. Michael Pence just sounds so wrong. Yeah, that's how his mom calls him when he's in trouble. Michael Pence! Yeah, this is pretty funny. I don't know if anything huge is going to come out of this besides maybe a fractional move in the direction. You know, correct me if I'm wrong, haven't the trials Trump has been going through actually correlated with a rise in Trump's polling numbers? I'm not 100% sure on this, but I swear I saw something about that, like, every time one of these big court things gets into the news, Trump's polling does better, not worse. Am I wrong there? I wonder if this could have the opposite effect than what you would hope. Because people are dumb, and the median voter buys the narrative that, oh, a presidential candidate is in legal trouble? This must be the other side politically engaging in lawfare. That makes sense. Why wouldn't they? They're the other political side. Yeah. I don't know about trials, but he got a boost in fundraising during, oh yeah, he'll get a lot of donations. You better believe that every one of these big court stories is going to have a big correlation with a massive jump in donations to Trump's campaign, for sure. Found it? Why Trump's poll lead went up after criminal indictments. Oh, okay, I was right. Trump's mounting legal troubles have not dented his status as the clear frontrunner for the Republican presidential nomination in 2024. In fact, the criminal charges have strengthened his position. Why? This is from the midterms. The former U.S. president has been indicted 3 times in the past 4 months, once in New York for alleged financial crimes, once in a federal court on charges that he mishandled sensitive government documents and obstructed investigation, and on Tuesday, he was indicted in a federal court on charges he conspired to overturn the results of the 2020 election. He is also facing a 4th possible indictment in Georgia for pressuring state officials to reverse his 2020 defeat there. Through all of this, Mr. Trump's campaign has not just continued unabated, it has thrived. An average of opinion polls from the 31st of July suggests he has a commanding lead of 37 points over his nearest rival, Ron DeSantis. No one else in the crowded field of 14 candidates scores over 6%, and more than half of them are not even at 1. Back in mid-February, Mr. Trump's lead over Mr. DeSantis in the average of polls was just 2 points. That turned out to be the Florida governor's high point so far, however. While his star has faded and his poll numbers have plummeted, Mr. Trump's support has remained rock solid. And since the first indictment was brought in the first week of April, making Mr. Trump the first former U.S. president to face criminal charges, it has actually grown. According to the average of polls, Trump has been the first choice of a majority of Republican voters ever since the first arrest and court appearance. Most Republican voters see charges as politically motivated. According to Clifford Young, president of the U.S. Public Affairs with Ipsos, the bond between Donald Trump and his supporters, which equates to about 40 to 45% of the Republican electorate, will be difficult to break. They see the world through his eyes, he says. His base believes he's been wronged. They believe that the indictments are politically motivated. After Mr. Trump's indictment for illegally retaining classified documents, the BBC spoke with a panel of Republican voters and their views on the former president, and found similar sentiments. Quote, "This is so obviously a blatant attempt to take Mr. Trump out of the presidential running," 61-year-old Trump-supporting Ram Solene of Arizona said. And it is a sad day for our nation, considering that others, including Mr. Biden, have been caught with classified documents in their possession. Even Republicans like Luke Gordon, who doesn't support Mr. Trump's attempt to recapture the White House, viewed the indictment as with some skepticism. quote, "I don't doubt the legitimacy of the claims in the indictment, and I do not defend Trump's actions," the 21-year-old New Yorker said. However, the motivation behind his prosecution and investigation remains of grave concern. So even among, like, not super Trump loyal, like 21-year-old New Yorker, like Republican-leaning people, they think that this must be, the fact that Trump is in trouble must mean they're attacking him and he is being wronged. In no world could he genuinely be being gone after. Even if he's done stuff wrong, even if he is truly in the wrong and they agree with that, the fact that they are going after him legally, in their perception, is political lawfare, because they live in this world where politicians are breaking the law all the fucking time and getting away with it all the fucking time, right? Like, everybody is a hyper-populist these days, or at least repeats hyper-populist positions. And so you hear this, like, nonsense narrative where it's like, oh yeah, all the politicians, left and right, are constantly getting away with crimes because of their power and money and their position in government. So they're only going after Trump, and Trump is only getting in trouble because he's Trump. You know, they're just targeting him. He's no different than the other politicians. The fact they're going after him is specific, you know? A lot of people think that way. Like, a lot of people think that, like, every politician is as crooked as Trump, at least, and that they are just targeting Trump legally, even though he is as guilty and as bad as any other politician. That is how a lot of people view the situation, though many of them view Trump as less bad than most other politicians. They see him as an outsider who, like he used to say, drained the swamp. So yeah, based on what I've seen, it is very possible that this ends up helping Trump and his chances. In a June poll by CBS News, the BBC's partner in the US illustrates the point. 76% of likely Republican primary voters said the classified documents indictment was politically motivated. 38% of those voters thought it would be a national security risk if the former president kept nuclear or military documents after he left office. For the US public at large, the number is 80%. 61% of Republican voters said Mr. Trump's indictments did not change how they viewed the former president, while 14% said it made them see him more positively. So 61% said it changes nothing, and 14% said they see him more positively now. So when I tell you that, I mean, these are not median voters, but hell, there's still, like, this is the floor that we're talking about here, okay? These are zealots, yeah. These are zealots who believe that Trump is a special person who can do no wrong, and when he gets any consequences for his actions, it must be some kind of, like, targeted attack on him. As if an attack on him, if it even existed, would also be an attack on them. Because Trump's done a really good job of convincing his supporters that he represents them and he is the man of the people, and that when they attack him, when they hurt him, they are hurting them. Why the fuck do we live in a country full of such idiots? Jesus fucking Christ, man. Individualism, unironically. Like, fundamentally, America was founded on a concept of individualism, like, above all, and it's an extremely toxic concept when taken to its extreme. And while there are definitely some positive aspects to the concept of individualism, it has been basically perverted by conservatives going back, like, a century at this point, and used to promote, like, evil ideologies, and from there, in order to enforce those ideologies, they've attacked forms of education, encouraged ignorance, and just generally tried to enforce that worldview and block out anything else as much as possible. I shit you not, I was debating a conservative and she used Biden is in league with the devil as an actual fucking argument. Hey, Bolt Sidorov, do you know what you do when someone says that to you? You say, Satan, my lord, I allow you to use my body as your vessel to achieve your evil ends. Enter me now, and let everyone around me be your first victim on this mortal plane. And see if they run. If they run away, if they're like actually scared, you know they believe in that shit. And if they really do believe in that shit, then you actually scare the shit out of them, which is like peak, you know?
Empower me! Allow me to carry out your evil deeds on this earth.
Hell maxing. Jesus. Okay, anyway. If you enjoyed this segment, and you like getting caught up on the news with me, and you found it fun or entertaining, then please, please, please consider leaving a like. Every thumbs up goes a long way to help the channel in the algorithm. If you don't know, someone actually told me the other day, they watched one of my older videos, like 2 or 3 years old at this point, that hasn't had any like new comments or interactions on it in a long time, and they left a like on it and watched the video, and they came back a few hours later and found that it had a good amount more views than before and had 3 new comments for the first time in months. Just one person clicking on a video that's years old and liking it put that video in a dozen or more people's recommended and led to 3 comments on that video, which of course led to it getting more attention, no doubt. Because that kind of thing snowballs. So seriously, it really means a lot. Thank you to every single one of you who dropped the thumbs up. Thank you to everybody who leaves a comment, subscribes, rings the bell icon to see more from me on YouTube. It really does mean a lot. And of course, consider following my social medias, linked down below in the description, if you want to see more from me on other platforms, including clicking on the link to join my fan Discord, which is the main hub of my community. It's totally free to join, and I will also be hosting maybe the final, depending on, like, if there's still demand for these going forward. I host game events, call-in streams, and watch parties in there, though we may be stopping that if there's not demand for it. But for now, we probably are continuing them. People seem like they're pretty hyped for them and don't want them to end, so we'll probably continue them. So join the Discord if you haven't already. I also announce all my new uploads and streams there too, so you don't miss anything if YouTube's bugging out. And of course, if you want to support me directly and, you know, help me keep a roof above my head and just, you know, keep the lights on over here at Xanderhall Live Studios, then consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live, or supporting me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, Patreon, or buying merch to the Streamlabs link down below. But regardless of how you support the channel, even if you're just lurking around and not saying anything, thank you so much for watching, and have a good one. How do you guys like that segment? I feel like it came out pretty good. That's some new news. Some breaking news, if you will. The breaking news has broken. Remember, people's dream is not over, do not leave. What? You mean stream. Oh yeah, stream's not over. I say multiple times before it actually ends that stream is about to end, so it's not about to end. I've still got numerous topics left I need to do today before we wrap up. I've been live for 1 hour and 8 minutes. We just started, pretty much. Like, we're just getting started. That was segment 1 of, like, 5. Yeah, you haven't missed anything, Lefty Jenna. You're all good. TBH, I'd be more concerned for you, not because Satan, but because you're hollering like a nutjob. Well, you're not a Christian. I'm talking about a scenario where someone argues that, like, Biden is working with the devil or something. That's when you say, oh, they believe in the devil, like, unironically, and you start doing the shit that, like, if you believe in demons and the devil, then you typically believe that literally inviting them into your body is an actual legitimate threat. And so if you start doing that in front of them, they will get fucking scared. That's not a joke, by the way. I'm not joking with you. You will scare the shit out of hyper-evangelical people that believe in demons and spirits and stuff, because they believe that that works, that inviting them into your body, that inviting Satan into your body, is, like, extremely evil and bad. They will get scared, or at the very least, they will hate it and get really offended. And you will be able to laugh and laugh and laugh, call them a snowflake, and say, sorry you offended them so much. Sorry for offending their very precious, delicate sensibilities. Just lean heavy into being, like, an asshole, like conservatives do. Have you seen the news about Grums being a pedo? I assume you're going to talk about that. I have not, but I can't say I'm even the slightest bit surprised. Like, can I just say I knew he was a pedophile, like, all along? Like, he was a conservative who complained about, like, women in games not being fappable enough. We all knew he was a pedophile. Now we just know that he's a pedophile, you know? We can say it without it just being, you know, hearsay that we can get sued for. But I'll look into it. I haven't heard that news, though. I do hate Grums, though, so hopefully he's falling off with this getting, exposed.
Psst, I see dead people. That's a reference to a movie.
Satan, enter my room and give me cuddles. Are you still getting crap from lolicons? I always am. Learn to speak backwards in Latin for extra believability. I can't do that, but I could start, like, speaking the black speech written on the band of the One Ring. Maybe that would work. They'd probably think that's some, like, demon words. Xander Hall, heard about Hassan being a Trump supporter? What? Hassan's not a Trump supporter. What do you mean? What's Hassan been doing? I know he's always doing something stupid. What's his what's he getting shit for right now? Curious. Where? America's Hitler is trending. What? Oh, it's just a lot of memes about Trump being Hitler. Cool. He is Hitler. That is true. Trump is literally Hitler. And I'm tired of pretending he's not. Oh. I think this might be what people were talking about.
How we got to this point. But the issue was that happened.
So boring.
Donald Trump can do it. And all of us say there's no place for this.
I liked it. I want more January 6s. It was funny.
Censorship to stop
Give it up.
From doing
Give it up.
To kill someone,
we need more January 6s. It was very funny, objectively.
Censorship is book banning. We've seen that. We've seen that brought up. I just think for everyone tonight, and I'm going to...
He's got to be joking, though, right? Like, listen, I'm one to, like, shit on Hassan. Like, I'm one to just spread my cheeks and take, like, a big fat shit on Hassan's head. Don't get me wrong. I love doing that. But I feel like he's got to be being ironic here, right? Like, doing one of those bits where you're just, like, doing a sarcastic... Like, because I'll do that sometimes, where it's like, oh, yeah, they got women in the new insert video game. It's woke, guys. We gotta boycott it. You know, if someone clipped me saying that, then someone who doesn't like me could easily just interpret that as me being serious. So let's watch the rest and see if because a minute and 15 seconds long, that is a decent amount of like length. So hopefully there's some context here.
Thank Senator Vance. I think this is the conversation they want to hear. And I think there's a lot of agreement. This is one that we are miles apart on. This was a threat to our democracy in a way that we had not seen. And it manifested itself because of Donald Trump's inability to say.
Is your second 821? No.
He didn't lose the election. I would just ask that.
No, it's not.
Did he lose the 2020 election?
A bunch of fucking fat Republicans trying to climb over the Capitol wall.
Speaking their mind and
okay, no, he's serious. Okay, never mind. No, he's horseshoed. Yeah, no, this is just legit horseshoe theory. We've got a leftist now arguing January 6th doesn't matter. Honestly, for no other reason than, let's be real, liberals care about it too much. Whenever there is anything bad about Republicans that liberals focus on a lot, leftists online will, like, as like a point of principle, and like try to shit talk that line of argument. Remember when lefties online, maybe you don't remember, but I fucking do, lefties talked about the whole like Russiagate thing, like it was a lost cause that should just be dropped and no one should talk about it? For years, this was the narrative. When I did deep research on Russiagate and found out like how fucking massive it was, I got so upset that I felt so lied to by the online left just talking about how Russiagate was a waste of time and we should just drop it, which is exactly what the fucking Republicans want. That is the exact mindset they want to encourage, that we should just drop their constant attempts to overturn our law, democracy, and way of having a country, like overturning and breaking the rules. It's so weird. Like this like pseudo populist lefty useful idiot for conservatives mindset that if liberals care about a thing that the right does, then it must be an unimportant thing to care about. Because of course all liberals and the Democrats are controlled opposition, you know? Why even vote for them? They're controlled opposition. They're no different than the Republicans.
In the wake
to
of
do
the
what? Take photos and poop inside of Nancy Pelosi's office?
That is a damning non-answer.
Yeah, that's what they were there to do, Hassan.
It was objectively.
Holy shit, dude. The horseshoe is real. You can never tell me horseshoe theory isn't real. You are witnessing it right now.
The 2020 election.
A bunch of fucking fat Republicans trying to climb over the Capitol wall.
Speaking their mind in the wake of
He's such a retard.
Take photos and poop inside of Nancy Pelosi's office?
That is a damning non-answer.
It's a damning non-answer.
It was objectively funny.
About
Sorry.
censorship. Obviously, Donald Trump and I think that there were problems in 2020. We've talked about it. I'm happy to talk about it.
A lot of you are liars.
But you guys attack us.
You are lying to yourselves if you think that wasn't fucking hilarious.
The most sacred right under the United States democracy is the first.
Can we all pull together to buy Twitch so we can ban Hassan? For those who don't know, Hassan has, like, explicit special treatment on Twitch as well. He has carte blanche to promote terrorism and to speak positively of and platform in a positive way terrorism and terrorist organizations and stuff, because he has a monopoly on politics on Twitch. He makes Twitch an absurd amount of money, and he is the politics guy on Twitch. If Hassan disappeared tomorrow, Twitch would have no more politics content that gets views, like, in any way whatsoever. It would evaporate. They banned Destiny a long time ago. They don't have Destiny as a fallback, like, secondary political content creator that they can make money off of anymore. They've got to stick with Hassan. This tweet also adds fuel to the horseshoe theory. Is this the right side of the horseshoe meeting up with Hassan? No, this can't be real. No, this can't be real. At Hassan the Hun, thank you for liking my post. I'll send you important election updates for North Carolina. Make sure you are ready to vote for Donald J. Trump by November 5th. Reply #stop to opt out. What is happening? This is the top of the hour ad break. Hi, chat. Fuck Israel. Chat, is this real? Hi, chat. This can't be real. No. No fucking shot, bro. What? 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 No fucking shot. No. No! He has a bot that tags everyone. What tweet did he like? Dude, the fucking horseshoe is insane. Oh my lord. How does he support terrorism? I imagine you already know. Zan, if you like one of his posts, will you get a shout out? Maybe. If you have, like, followers, I think you do. Dylan also did it? Okay, maybe they did it because of the bot. That's fair. If they were trying to get, like, the bot to say, shout out to insert you, yeah, that makes sense. That's a good meme. Yeah, I do that too, frankly. He platformed a fucking Houthi, that's how he supports terrorism. He's also outright said that every single person who's served in the IDF is culpable in genocide and deserves to have violence done on them, and if they were to be killed, they'd have... it would be a morally neutral action, like they would have had it coming. Mind you, every citizen of Israel has to serve in the IDF. So when you hear leftists talking about how IDF members and ex-IDF members deserve to die or dog whistling that, they effectively mean wiping out the population of Israel. That is why so many liberals jump to calling, like, leftists that are, you know, in the Hassan sphere of things, anti-Semitic, because they legitimately are calling for most of Israel's population, if not, like, almost all of it, to be wiped out, and claiming every single one of them is morally culpable of genocide and needs to be punished for it. I assume it's a Nazi talking point then. This has always been a weird, like, area where leftists and Nazis have crossed over on positions, and that's Israel. I don't know why. I have no fucking clue why. Well, I do, I guess, because for lefties, there's this perception that Israel is, like, sort of fucking over innocent people, and it is, but from the perspective of Nazis, they see Israel as like this Jewish state that is receiving money from the US and has a lot of control over US politicians. And so the left and the far right, the far left and far right, for a long time have had this crossover in the idea of like both parties equally would like to see Israel. I mean, if you've heard Vosh say he would like Israel glassed. You've heard far-right Nazis say they would like worse to happen to Israel. You know, like, and yeah, it's just, you can kind of understand with this context why Jewish people have been the most hate-crimed group, the most genocided, enslaved, and discriminated against group in all of human history for, like, thousands of fucking years. Kind of makes sense. Like, every single Bible story, and I'm not exaggerating, like, besides a bit of Genesis, I guess, but, like, every Bible story starts with the Jews being slaves or being conquered. Like, tribes of Jewish people, like, being conquered or enslaved, and then some prophet or chosen person or people coming along to, like, impress everyone, or just do some mass murder, and just, you know, make it so God's chosen people aren't getting absolutely fucked over in the world by the end of the story. Generally, sometimes, mostly. Yeah, the Bible is funny like that, but you can even look into the Bible and see how far back anti-Semitism has been like a horrific thing kind of clouding over humanity, looming over it. And it makes sense now when you consider that, like, even in modern day, online, you've got the expected anti-Semitism from far-right Nazis, but then this weird, like, horseshoe theory anti-Semitism from people on the left. Oh, no, Sylvie DB, if you're a Hassan fan, then you're either, like, brain dead or don't know enough about him, and I would love to just show you clip-on-clip of, like, Hassan defending Russia and its invasion of Ukraine and stuff, but, like, people get annoyed because I've shown that so many times. But, like, if you defend all that, then, I mean, I think you're a bad person. But not if you don't defend that stuff, but if you do, then yeah, you're a bad person. Throughout all of history, Jews are always and have been the most hated group of people. Yeah, like, anti-Semitism is the oldest and most proliferant... Is that the right word for it? Proliferating? Like, it's everywhere. Anti-Semitism is possibly the oldest bigotry. Prolific, yeah, thank you. Prevalent. Yeah, that was the word I was looking for. Thank you, Wingo. Yeah, I was thinking of prevalent, not prolific. Although those are kind of synonyms, so both would have worked. Presbyterian. Anyway. Slashy, thank you so much for the $6 dono. I really appreciate it. Very kind of you. It really helps a lot and means a lot. Thank you so much. Yeah, I guess it's younger than sexism, you're right. I forgot about sexism. Oh no, I forgot about sexism! Ah, dang it. Anyway, thank you for the $6, Slashy, I appreciate it. Sent a YouTube link and says, if you missed it, watch this more if you cannot do both. And then sent a link. What?
Shadow!
I thought you were pro-choice.
Did you just murder that gun soldier?
It wasn't murder. It was a 97th trimester abortion.
That just sounds like murder.
I thought you were pro-choice.
Oh no, are you pro-life?
Of course not.
Oh, thank God.
I'm not pro-anything.
What?
I'm anti-life and anti-choice.
Oh, Jesus, why do I hang out with you?
Okay, that was a good one. That was a good one. I like that one. I need them to start doing Shadow's voice as a Keanu Reeves impression, though. You gotta start updating it. Haley Joel Osment should get an Emmy for his portrayal of J.D. Vance trying to buy a donut.
Hi, I'm Ohio Senator J.D. Vance. The mainstream media, They want you to think that I'm weird.
He looks a little like him.
They call me creepy, cringy, awkward, that I give people something called the ick. They want you to think that I can't order a simple donut. But that's ridiculous. Follow me. Hello? Hi. Okay.
Okay, chat, none of you can lie. This is half of you when interacting with strangers in public, and I know because I have to, like, whenever I go on rants about how one of the best things you can do to improve your social skills is to just say hello to strangers, every stranger you pass in the street. People are like, oh, but my anxiety. And so I know for a fact this is like half of you when you go to the store.
How long you worked here?
A year?
Okay. Donut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which donut, though?
Just whatever makes sense. Pickles, hold the pickles.
Oh, well, no, I can get that for you.
Holy shit.
The Democrats say I don't know how to talk to people, but that is just not true.
The fucking
Hello,
glass
worker.
crunching noise
That's
as he
it.
chews.
Sure. So,
his fucking hand is all... They should just have, like, a squib of fake blood coming out of his mouth because he was just chewing the glass on the donut.
How long you been black? I smell pregnant woman.
Accurate.
Hello, ma'am. When do you spawn?
That's none of your business.
And you, sir, you must be the father.
I'm 9. Please get away from me.
It's so accurate. What the fuck? Jesus. The moment he punched that, like, glass display was so peak. When do you spawn? I'm low-key going to ask a pregnant woman that one day. When do you spawn? When is the spawn expectancy on your parasite you're growing? No, Vance is a real Family Guy character, yeah. She's a fish. I mean, don't conservatives believe that, like, women lay eggs or something like that? Because they always talk about how, like, women are gonna run out of eggs. I'd like to think that most conservative men, like, because their wives cheat on them so much because they don't know how to pleasure a woman, I like to think that, like, 99% of conservative men, like, aren't even the fathers of their own children, and they've never, like, how many times have you heard, like, conservatives who have kids, unironic, like, who remembers the famous claim from that one right-wing pastor that you can impregnate a woman with a pencil if you were to insert it into the vagina, because it's not a man ejaculating that makes a woman pregnant, it's like a decision a woman's body makes when something goes inside their vagina. There was a real pastor who believed this, who had a large following, and this was a narrative that actually caught on in the 2000s, I believe. It might have been earlier, but I heard of it in the 2000s, and I remember being 9 and being like, I don't exactly know how sex and reproduction works, but I'm pretty sure you cannot impregnate a woman with a pencil. I am certain you cannot do that. Like, I am 99% sure that wouldn't work. And I was like 9. Like, legitimately, there are a fair amount of conservatives that have such a misunderstanding of women's anatomy and reproduction that it concerns me that they have children, because how could those children be theirs? It makes far more sense to believe that none of their kids are theirs, and that their wives cheated on them, lied to them, and they are raising other dudes' kids. That's like a holdover from a medieval myth that women couldn't get pregnant unless they had an orgasm. Was this a lie that men told because if they had kids, then it would be like they had living proof that they've made a woman come? Is that why that exists? That has to be why that exists. I saw a meme once, or it wasn't even a meme, it was an image, where it's a guy holding his infant, and the infant is wearing a shirt that simply says, "Proof I had sex." It's so fucking trashy, dude. It's so trashy. But it's like, that is like 2016 humor. Like, oh yeah, my child here is proof that I'm not a virgin. Yeah, that could also be taken in a much more problematic way as well, depending on how you read the shirt, yeah. I think it was more of a way to denigrate women who became pregnant via rape. Ah, that's actually a good point, Heavy Gretel. You're not wrong there. A lot of conservatives have tried to argue that rape isn't rape if insert list of bullshit reasons that are completely unfounded in regards to biology or science. That's just sexualizing your child? Oh, guys, straight parents have been doing that shit for a long time. The only, like, reason why conservatives claim to care about that kind of stuff is like when it's even tangentially related to something that culture war-wise is associated with homosexuality. Like, straight parents with absolutely no pushback or cultural, like, any, like, type of negativity have taken their kids to Hooters and to, like, Mardi Gras and all of that. And it's like, oh my god, look, the Hooters lady is taking a picture with my little kid. Isn't that funny? Like, no one has ever batted an eye at that. The only reason conservatives get angry about it is because it's tangentially related to gay. I think it's trashy kind of regardless, in my own personal opinion. I get annoyed by hypocrisy and the lack of bringing out the same amount of energy for something equally bad, if you were to compare them, or equally good or bad, or morally neutral wherever you stand, right? Like, there's fundamentally no difference except, like, gay, you know? I'd actually argue it's more normalized for, like, the straight side of things to be sexualized than when it's gay. Like, how many... God, like, it's normalized, particularly, like, dads, like, having their, like, sons that are, like, little kids, like, pose with models and stuff. How many times have you seen, like, memes and stuff of that? Like, that shit is completely normalized. But if you flip that to something gay, all of a sudden, you know, there's gonna be death threats coming at that parent, you know? And maybe there should be, but in both scenarios. I don't know. I just think it's trashy to do regardless. I just don't like the lack of, like, equal energy, like, equal, reaction to it. It's the same situation I have with the Chris Tyson thing, right? Where they went after her because of the whole, like, Shadman thing, but meanwhile, Mr. Beast and Ava had chipped in on the poster. Like, they both bought it together and put it up on their shared wall in their shared home. And most of the criticism is at Ava Tyson and not at Mr. Beast. There's a lot at Mr. Beast, don't get me wrong, but most of it was always at Ava Tyson. It's like you have to be the perfect target, right? I'm currently homeless because my dad wouldn't stop sexually harassing me for coming out as trans. Man, that makes me want a Fed post. I'm not gonna lie, Spice the Goblin. That does make me want a Fed post. I'm so sorry. That is awful. Are you able to, like, find any support? Like, do you have anybody that you can go to? Any family, extended, or friends or anything like that? I hope you're able to stay safe. I'm sorry about that. Well, thank you for the support, Slashy. I really appreciate it. Very kind of you. Yeah, stay safe. Jesus. Prancing Goldfish, thank you for the tier 1 sub. I really do appreciate that, and it's a 3-monther. Thank you. I appreciate the $12 dues. It means a lot and helps a lot. Thank you, thank you. And Slashy, thank you for the $5 dues. Really helps a lot and means a lot. Said, Link, watch this. What is this? Oh. Page does not exist. Refresh, page does not exist. Man. Oh. You didn't put a space at the end of the link. Guys, when you send me links, you really got to make sure you put a space at the end, otherwise the link won't work. Oh yeah, I already watched this. It's the JD Vance video. I'm guessing you resent it because I hadn't read this dono yet. My bad. We're just a little behind on donos. I'm actually a little surprised at the Hassan hate, mainly because I've been watching him lately, and he seems pretty far left with shared values with streamers like you, keyword being seems. Aw, man. I apologize if I seemed a little rude towards you before. Now that I consider it, I didn't even realize that a lot of people could be entering the space somewhat fresh-faced and might not know the history. I actually once really liked Hassan. If you go back to like 2019, when he started to get really big, and I followed him since before then because he came from the Destiny community, and I came from that too. Like Hassan started out as like a pretty agreeable, but, you know, kind of himbo-y and dumb at times, but, you know, well-meaning, you know, just like leftist dude. A little more radical in some areas than I was necessarily fully on board with, but I didn't dislike him, and I would watch his content from time to time. Honestly, what made me really dislike Hassan, what like broke any tolerance I had for him, was when he claimed that the annexation of Crimea by Russia from Ukraine was justified, and then claimed that you were a war hawk and a liar if you believed any of the information coming out about Russia planning the invasion into Ukraine. Mind you, at this point, they were lining up tanks on the border and shit. Like, everyone knew. Everyone knew at this point. And then it happened, and Hassan, while continuously getting pushback for every tier of this and having to walk it back and adopt a less extreme position, he would at every turn defend and make excuses for Russia and their invasion. At the first turn of things, just outright saying it was justified and going full mask off before walking it back. And then, when he was called out by a friend of mine named Dylan Burns, who brought some Ukrainian lefties onto a video to talk about their feelings on Hassan's rhetoric around the invasion of their country, Hassan's response to finding out about the video was to call Dylan Burns a war tourist pervert and to say he will never watch the video. Mind you, the reason he called Dylan Burns a war tourist pervert is because Dylan Burns does journalism in a war zone in Ukraine and volunteers, like, helping pets that have been abandoned in like, neighborhoods that had to be evacuated and stuff. Like, if you really want to do, like, a deep dive of research into, like, the breadth of Hassan's untrustability and how, like, faulty of a figure he is, I recommend you check out Willie Mac Show's videos. I don't agree with everything Willie Mac Show says, but he did his research there, and I was actually impressed. I saw on that, all I saw on that was him saying Russia would be stupid to actually invade, so yeah, I knew nothing about any of that. Yeah, that was him walking, like, one of his walked back positions. His initial position was, Russia's not gonna fucking invade, you fucking warhawk idiots. Oh my god. Like, you guys just want war. You guys just want war. Like, you guys just trust everything that American intelligence agencies tells you. And meanwhile, it's like, Russia has lined up hundreds of tanks along the border. They are stocking medical tents with blood bags that expire in 2 weeks. We believe that they plan to invade in less than 2 weeks. And like, Hassan's just like, you're warhawks if you think this is gonna happen. You got me locked in on the Hassan, you know, shit talking. I'm moving on from it, but that's like a lesson 1 there. I don't understand how Hassan is so popular. Why are people so enthusiastic when it comes to supporting genocide deniers? 2 things, I think, primarily. Or 3 things primarily. The first thing, by far, consistency. Hassan, at least at one point, streamed for 12 hours a day, every day for 365 days straight. With no days off. And so, that is pretty hard to beat. I could not do that. I don't have the constitution energy to do that. Granted, a lot of the reason he's able to do that is he just sits and, like, lets videos play while saying nothing for long periods and would, like, get up and just go AFK while videos played for, like, sometimes an hour at a time while he goes out to get food. So granted, hours of a given stream would just be him silently, like, just relaxing with no content. How does he find enough content to cover? Well, you only need, like, a few good moments of content to get, like, a few videos worth of videos for a YouTube channel, right? And so he just streams nonsense, and a few videos worth of content comes out of it, and it gets uploaded on YouTube, and that's what most people watch from us on. if you watch Hassan's streams, then I'm surprised, because it's a lot of chair. It's kind of what he's famous for. Another reason why he's successful is that he is, like, kind of... Hassan knows what his audience wants to hear, and it feels like he says what his audience wants to hear a lot of the time. And I would guess, if you could see Hassan's audience demographics publicly, I would guess that Hassan's oldest audience demographic is 18 to 21. I would be surprised if, like, Hassan, or his majority oldest demographic is 18 to 21. I would bet my life on it. I would be surprised if he breaks very far into the 22 to, like, 20 to 30 age range in terms of his fan base. I've noticed that, at least with my age demographics, which I've shown before, I have more viewers that are in their 30s to 40s than I have in their, like, 13 to 17 or 17 to, like, 18. Which is pretty impressive to me, that I've got, like, an audience that's that much on the older side, according to my statistics. And, like, you would think if it was just people lying about their age, they'd have lied and said they were, like, 18, just so that YouTube wouldn't, like, age restrict content for their account. But it's a lot of people who are in their 30s and 40s, which would be a weird age to lie about, I guess, you know? Like, someone in chat right now just said they're 26, you know? Yeah, my audience does tend to lean a bit older than Hassan's, and Hassan's tends to lean a bit younger. And so he appeals a lot to that, like, college age, end of high school, sort of mindset of politics. A very heavily simplified... I mean, most of his audience are so young and politically, like, or just worldly unexperienced, that Hassan is able to push narratives and promote ideas that sound really good, but his audience at large does not have the developed critical thinking skills to understand on their face why they're so wrong yet. And that's why so many adults online are put off by Hassan. Like, the older you are online, if you're a leftist, you're likely more put off by Hassan, because Hassan's content is like Cocomelon for leftists. It's like very hollow, dude bro, populist, like, college students, please watch me and have my stream running on your, like, TV nonstop kind of vibes, right? While on the other hand, like, I'd say, like, the third reason why Hassan is so popular is probably pretty privileged. Hassan is a very good-looking guy, and if you're going to watch a person on your screen for hours at a time, who are you going to pick? Someone who's, like, average-looking or not much of a looker, or someone who's actually pleasant to look at? That's why a lot of Hassan's audience is so heavily, like, female straight woman leaning, and a lot of, like, the audience that he has, like, openly thirst post about him he is benefiting from the pretty privilege aspect as well. So he's a good-looking guy who's appealing to, like, college-aged and college-thought-out beliefs on the left, and heavily niching to that audience and saying what they want to hear, even if it's extremely naive, poorly researched, or just outright wrong. Oh yeah, he's definitely not ugly? Yeah, certainly not. He's a good-looking guy. Like, he's, like, definitely in, like, the top, like, what would it be, like, top 5% or something of, like, attractiveness in guys, for sure. And that cannot be a, like, harm to his career, that's for sure. I would be surprised if it was. I would bet a lot that it's helped him, and I think it's helped him more than many people would bet. Like, maybe not, it's not, like, what built him or anything like that, but let's be real. If you're going to pick between, like, average-looking guy and Hassan to look at on your screen for hours, you're probably gonna pick Hassan. Like, you probably want to you probably would rather look at, even if you're a straight guy, you probably want to look at a more attractive person on your screen that you're not even attracted to, because a straight guy won't necessarily appreciate attractiveness in another guy, but they will unappreciate unattractiveness. Does that make sense? And so you can see why, even for a straight guy, there is a pretty strong pull to watch someone who's more attractive as well, even if they're not personally attracted to them. It's just general pretty privilege, right? It doesn't matter what someone looks like. If I start hating them, I hate their face. For sure. But most people don't, like, on the Twitch space, don't hate Hassan. So why would they hate his face? Hassan leaves his stream for 10 hours, and then you're looking at a chair. Yeah, he does, but, like, once again, like I said, his consistency was very top tier, and still probably is. I don't know what his schedule is these days, but it's probably pretty consistent, and that helps a lot. I'd say those are the 3 biggest factors that put Hassan at the top of the totem pole of leftist content creators and made him the most popular. Bitches out here simping for a chair. So true. Alright. Alright, let me get the next segment brought up. Let's go. Oh, guys, what is this? Okay, he's irony posting there, obviously. I hate Hassan, but... Listen, I hate Hassan, but this is very clearly a joke. We know that he did this so... because there's the bot built in, and he wanted to get the reply from Trump. It's funny when I do it, but it's not funny when you do it. Real. Yeah, I know, but it's really funny just saying this. Yeah, I know, but... Listen, I don't dislike Hassan because I, like, hate his face or think he's cringe or whatever. I have actual reasons to hate Hassan. So if it's like, well, guys, he's just joking here. He's not actually, like, saying something bad or, like, dropping the mask or something. I'm not going to play into it because I don't want to have people think of my dislike of Hassan as, like, unfounded, you know? If I'm going to shit-talk Hassan, I'm going to bring up the definitive reasons why that, like, if you defend those things, then you're not gonna look really good. You're gonna have to defend some Russia propaganda. You're gonna have to defend some terrorist apologia. It's not good stuff. You gotta defend some anti-Semitism. My favorite is when I showed that clip of Hassan giving dating advice, and he talks about how to separate women at bars from their friends that'll try to quote-unquote cock-block you, and I quote, they're fat and lonely. Hassan's words, not mine. And how you have to separate the woman from the herd, and you got to try to get her to come back home with you. It's very much like basically Andrew Tate shit, but it's Hassan, like when he was 25 or something like that, like maybe 3 years before he started streaming, not even that long ago, doing like a TYT bit. Oh god, man, Hassan's just like a long-term piece of shit. Didn't Hassan debate Andrew Tate? I doubt it. I don't think he did. I feel like I'd have remembered that if he did. Maybe he did, though. I just might not know about it. Hassan did make a response to that back a year ago. I mean, he kind of has to when people are bringing it up and being like, yo, bro, what the fuck? Like, I showed that clip on stream, and everyone in chat was like, bro, what? Ew, ick, you know? And so he kind of has to say something. It is one of the less shitty things he's done, though. Yeah, you're right. Okay, let me bring up the next topic arena. Ooh, I've got a stiff neck today. I am not a fan of it, but it's poppin', so I can't really get too mad. Heh, too mad. YouTuber reference. He's dead, though. And he wasn't a great person. Xander Hall, you don't remember the clips of Andrew Tate getting super triggered at Hassan over women driving and insurance? That does ring a bell. Yeah, maybe Hassan did well there. Okay. Yeah, this was probably a while ago because, I'm gonna be real, I don't think about Andrew Tate all that often. I kind of forgot. What'd I get added with here? Interesting.
Those of us who have been...
All right. Y'all know what to do when I say action, right? 3, 2, 1, action. All right, everyone. So I have been recommended a new right-wing grift channel. And I gotta say, this guy's an up-and-comer. He's uploading, like, 3 or 4 times a day, so he knows how to game the YouTube algorithm, and he's getting pretty big. He's got 66.6k subs, and he seems like he's a new up-and-coming conservative in the space. Now, as you can imagine, he seems to be pretty overtly, like, bigoted. I mean, like, if he saw this, I imagine he'd be like, oh my god, he called me bigoted? Triggered! And probably have a meltdown over it. But if he sees this, I don't mean this as an insult. We're just kind of analyzing here. He definitely does seem to have a problem, like most of these folks, with minorities and media. He seems to be, like, kind of cheering for the downfall of any media that he considers woke, whether it be because it's associated with an investment firm that they consider communist, because in the year 2024, and only on the internet, you can find people who believe that investment firms can be communist. I just feel like that says all it needs to say, you know, just that right there. Now, the current news that, like, all the right-wing grifters are covering right now, and since I got sent this particular guy's video, I thought I'd cover it, is the news about Ubisoft. Ubisoft is currently going through some kind of financial apocalypse of some kind. I don't know why. Honestly, it probably has to do with Skull and Bones. I have no clue how Ubisoft saw the success of Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag and knew of, like, I presume knew of the things that made it so successful and beloved, and then decided to make Skull and Bones, a game that, like, surgically removes everything about AC4 as a pirate game that made it so fun and cool. And so, legitimately, I do believe that Ubisoft as a game company's last chance, like Warpenguin just said, is probably Assassin's Creed Shadows, with most gamers and certainly with me. Because I've just kind of been tapped out of Ubisoft games for a while now. Not really my cup of tea. They tend to be very formulaic in general, and I would like to see some evolution, some new change, some new ideas, you know? A change to the basic formula. I like, there are certain things that always have to be a staple in the series, but man, they could have gone back to the drawing board and done something cool and unique without that bizarre era of, like, RPG Assassin's Creed, which I like as their own thing, but man, I hate them as Assassin's Creed games. Like, really hate them as AC games. Regardless, though, this idea that Ubisoft is financially falling off, and it is, like, their stock price has plummeted, has led to Ubisoft announcing that they are going to be delaying AC Shadows to, I think it's like March next year or something like that, which isn't anything unusual for a game. Big AAA games get delayed all the time, and it's actually more often than not a good sign when a game gets delayed. Ideally, a game would be fully on track to be completed and ready to release on the day that it's promised to be released. However, if it gets delayed, that at least suggests to you that they care about putting out a polished product that meets a high standard, right? Like, they could have just released it half-assed and broken, farmed the sales, and then just ran away with people's money. Frankly, most people think of Ubisoft as the type of company to do that kind of thing, especially after AC Unity, which I know was like 10 years ago, but I haven't forgotten. I haven't forgotten that launch, and I never will. Anyway, this has led to a conspiracy theory. Mind you, before doing this segment today, I actually researched to see if there was any foundation to this, since I was like, okay, well, the premise of this just seems to be that they're removing Yasuke from Assassin's Creed Shadows because of the backlash. But then I realized, wait, rumor? And then I Googled it, and I looked around, and I found out that every reputable news site that has talked about the delay of AC Shadows has said that there is not going to be a removal of Yasuke from the game. It's just a normal game delay. And, yes, this is fully a rumor. I guess he added it to the title after the fact because it wasn't in there before. In fact, it's not in the title in the video's embed in Discord. That's actually really funny. Video titles, if you update them or change them, don't change in a Discord embed of the video, like when someone sends the link. So because someone sent it to me earlier today, when it first came out, I can still see the original title, and it does not include parentheses rumor there, so he definitely added that after the fact. That's funny. But yeah, this guy is apparently on board with claiming that Assassin's Creed or Ubisoft is so is in such a panic over the backlash over a real existing person who is black being included in this game that is meant to be historical fiction based off of real life, but, you know, kind of going weird and fantasy and sci-fi-ish with it, if you know Assassin's Creed story lore and all that. Apparently this is like, some of these people just outright say, like, oh, black people bad, we don't want them in the game, and they're honest about it. Others will say, oh, well, they're harming Japanese culture by forcing diversity into... And they'll find some, like, roundabout way of saying it's actually racist to be woke, and they'll call it woke. So I'm curious if that's what we're going to get here. Are we just going to get, like, the overt, like, they just keep trying to put minorities in our games, and we're tired of it, like, overt racism? Or are we going to get something a little more sly and slippery, where he's going to try to, like, claim wokeness as the real racism in that, like, intolerant left kind of way? Let's check it out. Let's see what this guy's all about. I'm going to give the video a bit of a speed boost because I don't want to sit through what's probably going to be a very long, drawn-out, and bloated video for the sake of ad revenue. So, yeah, let's do this.
Those of us who have been around the video game industry for a while would say we've seen some pretty wild rumors in our day, all the way back to the IG.
Okay, this guy is almost certainly not around the video game industry. He is a gamer. How many times have you heard, like, gamers say they're around the game industry? Like, I've heard this usually from conservative grifters that try to overplay how much of a general knowledge they have of gaming as a industry in order to lend themselves credibility they don't really have. This guy seems to appropriate a lot of, like, 1990s gaming aesthetics into his marketing for his channel. Like, he's got the power glove, like the 80s power glove on his avatar. He's, you know, seeming to use a lot of gameplay and showcases of old, like, 80s and 90s games and stuff. So he's really, like, trying to reach in with that, like, nostalgia bait stuff. I've noticed that a lot with these gaming grifter channels, is they really love to weaponize nostalgia. That's kind of been the running trend of conservatism for as long as it's existed, though. Weaponized nostalgia.
And April Fool's jokes and Street Fighter 2 being able to play as the end bosses and telling all your schoolyard friends, yeah, I saw it in a magazine, it's true. And then it always ended up being fake. As much as you thought it was the most outlandish, ridiculous thing in the world.
Wait a second. This is what this guy looks like? Okay, I'm going to show you guys his YouTube avatar really fast. And then we're going to look at him again. And I'm not body shaming, all right? I'm not body shaming. But if you have an avatar that does not really represent your real appearance, and you're a bad person, I'm gonna go after you for it. I'm gonna go after you. Look, this is his avatar. And this is him. What is it about these middle-aged or older dudes that make anti-woke grift content like Grum's, giving themselves, like, animated cutesy avatars to hide behind online that look nothing like them? Grum's did this famously before getting outed as a pedophile, apparently, according to my chat. Like, now this guy's doing it. It's weird.
Maybe it's true, but then we get to the modern era of gaming, and the rumors that are going around right now are becoming so ridiculously...
I really have grown sick of this narrative that gaming has gotten so much worse. Because while the industry, it has definitely normalized a lot of awful practices that are, in some cases, new, in some cases, like, evolutions or worsenings of already existing problems, the gaming industry, I would actually argue, is in the best place it's ever been. And I think that's going to continue to be true forever. There will always be the ability to play every old game that you like, especially with the prevalence of emulators and communities of people that try to prevent games and other media from becoming lost media, piracy sites, repacking programs for games that you don't even have to pay for the games in many cases. Like, you always have the ability to go play your favorite games that came out a long time ago. They're always there, and they can be untouched and untarnished. It's always weird to me when people say they tarnished my favorite piece of media when, like, a sequel gets made that they don't like. It's like, no, your favorite movie is still there. It's not like the Star Wars original trilogy where it's literally impossible now to get an original copy of, like, the pre-edits, where they've gone back and, like, continuously edited it and changed the original movie to the point where you now can't find the original, or even what was considered the original a dozen changes ago, right? Like, in that case, that's a pretty unique situation. But for the most part, with this, any old media, but games as well, you can go back and play these things. And as for the modern games industry, you can say, oh, but current games suck. Really? Do current games really suck that much? It feels like once or twice a year at least, there's a massive release of a game that's, like, genre defining. Like, and off the top of my head, Elden Ring and Baldur's Gate 3 are the type of games that are going to define gaming for generations into the future, and they came out so recently that, like, I might have been this year. Like, I don't even remember. Like, did they both come out this year? Was it last year? In the last 2 years or 3 years we've got these games? Like, a pretty short period of time, and that's just 2 games that off the top of my head. Like, the AAA game industry has not been cooking as hard as it is currently in a while. It feels like the quality is less dispersed among, like, constant releases of pretty solid games, and it's more like every year or twice a year or a few times a year sometimes, we get, like, a few masterpiece games that everyone loves. And hell, right now everyone's playing Black Myth Wukong, another Game of the Year level game that just came out a couple weeks ago. That's, like, the game right now. It just came out. Before that, it was Baldur's Gate. Before that, it was Elden Ring. I could probably think harder. Alan Wake is, like, one of the most awarded games of all time. That just came out recently. Gaming has not fallen off. And I'm just talking about the AAA industry right now. Indie gaming has basically existed in, like, any tangible way since 2010. Like, 2010 and 2009, 2008, that era is when indie gaming really took off. It was always a thing, don't get me wrong. Like, as long as the internet has been a thing, there's been indie games. There's been indie games since before that. But indie games took off as a whole massive genre of gaming that explored areas that no AAA studio has even dared to replicate to this day. And these are concepts and games that you would have never gotten the opportunity to play if we weren't in the modern era of gaming, where you've got more access for indie devs to make new creative ideas than ever, and we've got blockbuster games coming out, like, multiple times a year that are going to be remembered forever. Like, like, this narrative that gaming is in a bad place or gaming sucks now is just bullshit. Every day that goes by, gaming has gotten better because another potential game that could be your next favorite has released. Somewhere, at some point in the world, no matter how niche, your next favorite game has probably come out today. Maybe some indie dev released it for $1 on Steam, but it's out there.
Insane that I'm like,
yeah, a good example of indie games that are only, like, 10 years old at this point are Terraria and Minecraft. 2 of the most gaming-defining genre, like, just the concept of gaming. Like, you can't think of gaming and not think of Minecraft. Literally, like, a 13, 14-year-old game at this point? It's pretty old, but that's pretty young in the grand scheme of gaming, you know?
There's actually no feasible way that this is true. But then again, it just might be. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode.
Could you imagine if... God, there's really no comparison I could make that's analogous. That, like, a lefty or a left-wing YouTuber could do something like what this guy is doing. Like, there's really no comparison, because I don't really see... I can't think of a lefty content creator who makes their content centered around new pieces of media and about, like, the political implications of them and, like, the culture war, like, aspect of them. Like, I can't think of a lefty YouTuber who does that like these right-wingers do. So there's really no analogous scenario I could bring up where it's like, imagine if a lefty just peddled a rumor that, like, a white character would be removed from a movie because the woke audience doesn't like the white character in the advertising. Like, they would have a meltdown over this. Obviously, this is a pretty nonsensical example because it would never happen, but the right is so wild and weird that, like, there are entire genres of political propaganda that exist that are centered around the idea of presenting video game culture war as if it is one of the most important issues facing humanity right now in the whole world. Climate change, global war potential from the unease in the Middle East right now with Israel, Lebanon, Iran, and Gaza, like Hamas and Gaza, like, you know, none of that. That's unimportant. These are unimportant things, okay? The weather events that are like ripping up the country, like the fact that a shitload of people just died throughout the South because of a huge hurricane that just ripped through. Who gives a fuck about that? There is a black guy that was really real in history that's going to be included in the new Assassin's Creed game that takes place in the place and time where that black guy existed in history. How the fuck can we allow this to happen? This is the most serious problem in the entire world, and if you aren't concerned about it, then you're allowing the world to end, basically. That is how these people present this shit to you. Like, you actually... I wish I could speak to more of the people that take this kind of stuff seriously, because everyone I've spoken to is literally like Shadow Raven Studios. The kind of person who, just by speaking to, you can tell they've got nothing going on with them that makes culture war video game stuff not the most important thing going on with them.
Of Smash JT, Assassin's Creed Shadows has had a checkered history throughout development, and that's giving it credit. And there's been quite a bit of controversy surrounding one of the main protagonists, Yasuke, and how he's a black, quote-unquote, samurai in feudal Japan who beats up Japanese people to rap music.
There's no rap music in the game. What he's talking about is that when you watch the gameplay trailer, there's a scene where you see Yasuke fight, and it's like traditional, it's like a remix of like traditional Japanese music that has like a bit of like an upbeat kind of like, here, I'll just show the scene that, let me just show you what he's referring to as beating up Japanese people to rap music. Let me show you the scene he is talking about. So you know, like, where this guy is at mentally, okay? I just need you to see this. I just need you to see what he's talking about, okay? I just want you to know what he means. This is the sequence he's referring to here. Turn up the music. You'll hear the music change in a sec, and you'll know what he's talking about. And it's not rap music.
They were going to kill me. Thank you. There's another. Up the road toward the castle. A corrupt samurai named Fujioka.
Protector turned persecutor. Greed cannot rule this village. Not while I have breath in my lungs and a blade in my hand.
I said kill him.
It's just fighting music. It's just fighting music. They heard a heavy beat, saw a black guy, and in their mind they're like, rap! Black people music! Dude, you want to know what this guy heard? This is the... Hold on. I'm bringing up a clip. I better not get in trouble for this clip. But it is pretty much a representation of this guy right now. This is what he thinks he heard. Let me see if we can find the clip. Here it is. This old man in this video basically represents the guy we're watching right now.
My Dougie, I'm fresh. My Dougie, I'm fresh. Yep, flying in the motherfucker.
Damn, who was that? Kenny Rogers?
No, that wasn't Kenny Rogers.
Who was that?
Some fucking...
For some reason, that was the first thing I saw on Twitter this morning. When I opened my computer and turned on Twitter, that was the first thing I saw. That is what this guy basically did. He heard, like, flute music with a heavy beat and saw a black guy, and you just know the first thing he heard, or the first thing he thought, was just the N-word, just over and over again. He just saw, like, his brain pulsing, wanting to say the slur. You know for a fact. He just, like, how do you can't make this shit up. You can't make this shit up. It's fucking flute music or something with a beat. and because there's a black guy, he calls it rap. And he characterizes what you just saw as beating up, playing as a black guy, beating up Japanese people to rap music. Jesus Christ. How fucking obvious can you get, dude?
There's a hip-hop soundtrack only for him.
I saw it, but I didn't really see it.
Greed cannot rule this village. Not while I have breath in my lungs and a blade in my hand.
I can't wait for when the game comes out and that's just the fighting music. Like, no matter who you're playing as, that's just the fighting music. Because this is the same type of criticism I've seen become really prevalent in recent years when it comes to any media that, like, the right wants to call woke. I'll use one of my favorite things as an example, because I'm, like, a huge Tolkien fan. Anything with any tangential relation to Tolkien, even if it's not 100% lore, like, faithful, I like it as its own thing. And I really like Rings of Power. And I did not have very high hopes for it before it came out. I bought into a lot of the rumors around it, right? And these would range from everything to, like, oh, look, the sets look cheap, to the costumes look cheap, to, oh, I bet the writing is bad. Like, just every, claim that could be made before the thing comes out. And most of these things never end up being true, but if it can establish a general sense of negativity, even if over time you forget that particular reason why you're supposed to hate that piece of media, the negativity remains. And even if those reasons end up being totally wrong, you go into it having decided you hate this thing already. Yeah. I also hate to see that Wooly and Pat from Super Best Friends Play are on the hate bandwagon and joining in on this stuff and buying these talking points, but it also doesn't surprise me because I know that Pat, his wife, is friends with Dick Masterson, who is like a literal Nazi. So I don't think their Nazis are far right, but they're definitely not left-leaning.
I said kill him.
You guys, you know, Asmongold's a very well-reasoned guy, you know. He watches a Lolicon YouTuber, like VTuber guy, like half the time on his streams to get all of his political opinions from. But, you know, he's a very well-reasoned dude who we should very much take seriously. There's absolutely no... Asmongold said something, and that is all the argument you need for why you should believe it. Something you'll notice these conservative YouTubers do often, by the way, is they just show a clip of a popular YouTuber disliking a thing that they are arguing is bad, and that's the only argument they'll use. Like, legitimately, that's the argument. Hey, big streamer Asmongold, you viewer probably like, he hates this thing. Remember that. That means you should hate it too.
To you, bye.
And it really didn't sit well with a lot of people in Japan.
I've seen this photo, by the way, and isn't it interesting how the only image that they'll show is super zoomed in of the dev team on AC Shadows? Isn't it interesting how they zoom it in so much? Isn't that interesting? The reason why it's so zoomed in is because this is, for one, not even the whole dev team. This is just one building of the dev team. This is a game produced by multiple studios across, I think, Canada, the US, and like multiple other countries. I think France as well, because they've got numerous studios around the world. This is one of their buildings. And also, when you see the full photo, it's a pretty diverse group of people. But also, are they currently arguing right now? Are they currently arguing right now that there is not enough diversity in the world of game development? I was under the impression that all the game devs were now pink-haired SJW feminists who were forcing wokeness into these games to, like, self-insert or whatever. But apparently now it's a problem that this supposed entire studio is made up of white guys. Is that what the problem is here now? Is that what we're arguing? That's interesting. Okay.
And it really didn't sit well with a lot of people in Japan, actually.
I love this narrative. I did a segment not recently, but like a few months ago, where a right-wing grift YouTuber went around the street in Japan trying to find people that were mad about the Assassin's Creed Shadows trailer and thought that Yasuke was like disrespectful to represent, because the narrative they're trying to push is that like Japan is based and red-pilled and hates black people, and that they don't buy into the myth of Yasuke in Japan. The problem is Yasuke was a samurai. He's actually a massive cultural icon in Japan, and when this YouTuber made that video, everyone is like, that video was hilarious. He didn't edit out the clips that harmed his argument. So most of the video is just random Japanese people on the street either saying the trailer looks cool or just not really caring and then going on with their day and not giving like the negative opinion that the video wants to hear. And so we basically just sat there like clicking around trying to find any clips where a Japanese person says they're offended by it, and there was not one. Granted, that's just one guy who went around, like, asking people, but that was a guy who was trying to filter, like, the perception that Japanese people don't like this game and that it's a problem there. Even they couldn't edit a misrepresented list of people together that had a problem with it to create that idea. That is how hard it is to find people who actually give a fuck.
Worldwide, anyone that wasn't knee-deep engulfed in DEI agendas was looking at this like, who the hell came up with this idea of a character beating up old Japanese people to rap music who's a black samurai? This is the most
I honestly have to say, I guess I was right about what two possibilities we would get out of the video. Instead of getting the overt, like, mask-off racism, like, why'd they put minorities in this? Instead, it's the woke people are really racist. I didn't expect them to do that line of argument, though, by presenting the idea of playing as a black guy in Japan, where you fight people. I didn't expect them to frame that as black man beating up old Japanese people. I like this implication, by the way, that the enemies in the game are just like old innocent people. Like, these people have never played an Assassin's Creed game, clearly, because you get desynchronized if you kill like 3 civilians, because that's against the creed and not something your ancestors that you're reliving the memories of did. Even before the creed existed, they weren't killing civilians. Except for the one exception, AC Rogue, where you play as a Templar and you can kill all the civilians you want. Shay apparently killed a lot of people, because you don't desynchronize even after you slaughter an entire city in that game. So Shay was clearly not a great guy, but still a pretty great character. Anyway, so, like, besides the glaring obvious fact that, like, to believe this point in any way, you have to not actually understand or have played Assassin's Creed, because mechanically, if you hurt civilians and innocents, you get desynced, and you lose, and you have to reload your save. But I also love this presentation of the enemies in the game as innocent old people, because you're playing as a black guy. Like, I love how he sees a video game where you play as a black guy having to fight people, and because he is so racist and sees a black guy fighting, he sees it as a black man beating up old innocent Asian people or whatever. Like, I love that that's how he interprets it, right? Like, it's like a joke out of Everybody Hates Chris. Like, like where Chris is getting like beat up by white bullies in the school, and a white teacher sees it and says, "Chris, why are you being violent towards those white kids?" You know, like, it reminds me. By the way, I watched the first episode of Everybody Still Hates Chris today. Pretty good. I actually liked it. It ended up, like, it works. The animation works. Particularly because they start it in live action, and then he gets slapped into animation by his mom. He failed the GED, but not really. Spoiler alert. Yeah, that's why it's animated now. He got slapped into animation. And they make a joke about how he's scared of getting slapped into claymation. And I liked that. It works. But yeah, like, it's literally like a joke out of a skit here. Like, it literally is a joke out of a skit. How he frames this. Like, he's not being overtly racist, but he is being overtly racist, if that makes sense. Like, I'm picking up what he's putting down. I'm reading his aura, if you will.
Same thing ever. Coming from Ubisoft, a company saying that they're paying respects to Japan, all along the way beheading the Japanese people with this guy.
Could you imagine if people were freaking out about how in Assassin's Creed 2, like, they're supposedly paying paying homage and respects to the culture of Italy, but you're slaughtering Italians the entire time. Could you imagine? It's this really interesting, like, new age conservative meme where there's this idea, and a lot of this stems from the fact that Japan for a long time was like hyper conservative and hyper traditional, and so the right still perceives it that way. The right loves anime because of hentai and lolicon, and for a long time Japan had like an age of consent of like 13 or something, like really abysmally low. It got raised, thankfully, and the right lost their shit. Like, if I've never seen conservative anime fans online angrier than when Japan raised the age of consent. But before it was really low, and we know how the conservative pedophilia stuff goes, so they of course appreciated Japan for that aspect of their law and culture. And there's just a lot of like narrative with the right online, like American white conservatives, that like Japan is based and red-pilled, and obviously going back to World War II, the Japanese Empire was extremely racist, obviously allied with the Nazis, but even beyond that, genocided other Asian countries and groups because they considered themselves ethnically superior. And that was obvious. So, you know, the historical aspect of that means that, like, Japanese nationalism is something that a lot of white conservative, white supremacists have a long history of getting along with and agreeing with. There's also the factor of a lot of race realists love pointing to like race crime statistics and like race IQ statistics and stuff. And so you'll see a lot of Nazis and racists. For some reason, they don't apply the same standard to Jewish people, even though the same reasons apply. But for Asian Americans, they do this weird like model minority thing where they're like the exception, right? Like even during COVID, we saw conservatives weaponizing some sort of false faux race war agenda to try and push racism. Who remembers when COVID happened, the right turning every single case in which a black person assaulted an Asian person into like a new, like this idea that there was a trend of hate crimes done specifically by black people against Asian people. And this is just like the implication was this is like a black people thing, right? Who remembers that during COVID? Fox News was on that shit hard. This is the same kind of racism. It's the same shit.
It is beyond parody how far this has gone. But now, with the latest rumors of Ubisoft backing up and backing off with what they were doing with initially putting this game out in November, they have now kicked it back to Black History Month in February 2025. And if that wasn't funny enough, now there are rumors saying that it's actually not going to come out then either. That was just an initial kickback to ease investors' minds, quell their...
I really do love how, so like in the world of gaming journalism, which these guys did Gamergate supposedly to make more ethical and it's gaming journalism needs to be more accurate and ethical, and yet at the same time half these guys do nothing but report on rumors that haven't been posted anywhere, but like Bounding into Comics, which is a Nazi site that is run by like far-right figures and associated with like Breitbart and other far-right publications, and just as culture war shit. Was the black on Asian crime thing fake? Shit, I didn't know that. There was a slight tick upwards in anti-Asian hate crimes done by black people in the US during that time, which was a problem, don't get me wrong, but the right tried to racialize it as like a way of promoting racial hatred of black people. Like trying to... It was basically saying like, hey, Asian Americans, you don't commit crime. You have high IQs. You're as good as white people. You should be afraid of black people as well. Join our white supremacist movement, just like in World War II. Let's team up.
Fears and let them know the game's still on track. It's feature complete. We just need to polish it up a bit to make sure it looks great and it runs perfectly. So,
although Japanese Americans in World War II and Americans did not exactly team up. That is not what happened. But what Nazi white supremacists don't believe in history, so that doesn't really factor in for them.
There are no issues with it. When in reality, behind the scenes, apparently Ubisoft is looking at this game saying, we need to completely remove Yasuke and replace him with a new character from Japan.
Supposedly this game that features Yasuke as the secondary playable character and main character of the game is taking 6 months delay to completely remove Yasuke from the game to appease people upset about the black character. They have genuinely Well, they don't actually genuinely believe it, but the people watching these videos and buying the bullshit genuinely believe that Yasuke's he's not, by the way, but they believe he's being removed from the game because they're winning the culture war so hard against wokeness that these game companies are being forced to remove black characters from games so they don't go broke. They are so bought into the bullshit. They are convinced they've got these massive corporations by the neck and they're winning. Because remember, the enemy is simultaneously strong and weak. That is one of the core tenets of fascist ideology. The idea that wokeness is both taking over all the time and destroying gaming, but at the same time, they're constantly winning. They're constantly the most popular, the most successful, making more money, everyone likes them more. Their games and their videos and their content gets more views, and they brag about it and they acknowledge it, but at the same time, somehow, simultaneously, wokeness is taking over and overcoming them, and it's more powerful and it's proliferating more than they can, and it's an unstoppable force, but they're also more successful than it, and if you go woke, you go broke, and you fail. This is a core tenet of fascist ideology, the fear-mongering aspect. It is trying to have your cake and eat it too, despite the blatant contradictory, factors here. The wokeness is both a threat you have to be so constantly tuned in on that you can't stop watching these right-wing grift videos, but it can't be such a massive, unstoppable threat that you become doomer and feel like there's no point anymore. You have to always be winning, but also always be losing to be constantly on board with this right-wing grift content. It doesn't make sense. But that's the thing, right? Like, have you noticed that whenever we cover these channels, it's always a switch between we're winning in the war against woke, this woke thing just failed, and the next video is this woke thing is successful, Disney is inflating the sales and they're brainwashing people, and we need to boycott this and mass downvote it. Like, they'll go from complaining about a thing being successful that is woke to claiming that a thing is going to fail for being woke. Back-to-back videos. It's like Trump, right? Like, if I lose the election, then I won, and if I win the election is rigged. So if I lose the election, then I could have never won anyway because it was rigged against me. But if I win the election, then I actually did an even harder, more amazing and impressive win because it was rigged against me, and I won anyway. It's like the same line of logic Trump uses with the election. It's very familiar. All right, we'll watch a little bit more of this, but man, I've already ranted about this for like 34 minutes out of the 3 that we've watched of this god-awful video.
And redo the entire game. Jesus Christ. These people live in a fantasy world. Hit that subscribe, give me a like, and check out SmashJT.com for the full article breaking down how Ubisoft is now rumored to be in...
Okay, something I've noted... We're going to actually stop here. I'm going to give you guys a massive piece of advice that is going to change your entire worldview when it comes to these content creators, all right? You literally never have to watch past their like intro stinger, right? Once they say subscribe and ring the bell icon, unless they start the video with that, that is the point where they've made all their arguments. He's already said everything there is to say about the entire situation. There's literally not a single other thing of substance, value, or an argument he could make in the rest of the video. He is just, for the rest of it, going to pad for time as much as possible, showing a bunch of clips that are completely unrelated. Asmongold clips, random clips of streamers making fun of it, because he needs to pad it for time to get as much ad revenue as possible. But he only had 3 minutes of things to say about it, and you can see, this is the moment when the video actually ends, and past this point, he's just farming ad revenue. He includes as many clips as possible, as you can see, because he has nothing to say to pad the time. All he can really do is just find as many tangentially related clips as possible to hit that 15-minute ideal ad window. 15 minutes, by the way, is the ideal window for a video length to have as much watch time percentage as possible, while also getting as much ads squeezed in as possible. So, yeah. But apparently... if you are a chud who watches this kind of content, you believe that in 6 months, or you believe that Ubisoft delayed, and in 6 months is going to fully remove a black main character from the game because Ubisoft is now, I guess, giving in to the demands of racists. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes, I suppose. Anyway, If you enjoyed this segment or video, then please consider leaving a like. It really does mean a lot and helps the channel a ton, basically forcing YouTube to push my content in the algorithm, and it really means a lot. Of course, if you want to see more from me, and you want to support the channel as well, you can subscribe during the bell icon and comment down below to help the channel in the algorithm too. And consider following my social medias, linked down below, if you want to see more stuff from me on other platforms. And don't forget to join my fan Discord if you haven't already. I host events in there for now, and I also announce all my new uploads and streams. So if you want to be a part of the main hub of my community, then consider joining, because it's a pretty fun time. It's pretty dope. And of course, if you want to support me a little extra and you want to help keep the lights on over here at the Xander Hall studio, then consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live, or support me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, StreamElements, Patreon, or buying merch to the Streamlabs link down below. But regardless, please consider just leaving a comment. I actually like reading your comments a lot. They help the channel, but I also like reading them. As long as they're not, like, annoying. There are a lot of annoying comments, to be fair. But if your comment is just, you know, something about the whole situation, I like reading them. So consider leaving a comment. And hopefully, I see you again. Have a good one. God, my nose won't stop itching today. I hate it. How do you guys like that segment? I feel like it came out pretty good. And mark that one off. What should I do next? Well, we'll do that one. I think I've decided on which one I want to do next. Show us the scroll. I've actually got it, like, folded over, and I'm using it like this, because I have to really stretch it out. I haven't bought the tomes yet, so, I'm just using the scroll for as much room as I can fit. Hi, man, are you going to play the remaster of Soul Reaver coming out to PC December 10th? I didn't play the original, and I don't know what it is, so probably not. But if it looks really good, maybe. I might check it out. W segment, methinks? Hell yeah, thank you. Alright, really fast, guys. I'm going to use the restroom. I'll only be gone for a minute. Don't go anywhere. But, your man, Xanderhall, must relieve bodily needs, such as using the restroom. I'm unfortunately not a content robot. So I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Well, that's just the music. That's the wrong thing. There we go. I will be right back. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. I'm sorry. I had to switch over to the main screen with me mewing. I knew you guys would like it. I know you guys love it when I mew. Yo! Yeah, I'm mogging you guys. Sorry about that. Oh man, been ages since I played RimWorld. Just always stockpile food and supposedly concealed wire never triggers the event. Okay. Never played RimWorld either, so, or myself, so I don't know if that's true, but apparently that's good advice for Antonio May. I don't know why, but you ever get like a water bottle that just decides it's gonna fall apart? Like, I didn't squeeze this or anything. It's just like super, like even the slightest amount of pressure just makes it like crumple. Is there something about like 1 in 100 water bottles that just, they have no rigidity to them? Just happens sometimes. Do I have a favorite voice actor? Honestly, if I were to go and say that I have a favorite one, I'd probably have to say Mark Hamill. If not Ron Perlman. I know, very unoriginal answers, but I mean, I just love their voices. Like, Ron Perlman doing the voice of the Lich is always peak in Adventure Time. I always love it. It's like, his voice just instantly turns the tone from, like, whimsical, which Adventure Time typically sticks to just you're instantly like, oh shit, just got real. And then Mark Hamill, I mean, everything from Joker to Firelord Ozai, he's peak. Like, he's literally Luke Skywalker, Joker, Firelord Ozai, fucking, what else can I think of? Like, God, he's been so many roles. Like, Mark Hamill, both as an actor and voice actor, is like countless iconic roles. Like, the kind of role that's so iconic and so huge, most actors or voice actors would be lucky just to have that one role to their name and to be known for that one role. Mark Hamill is known for, like, so many big iconic roles, it's actually crazy. Mark Hamill is one of the most iconic Jokers. Yeah, I like Mark Hamill a lot, as far as voice actors go, and actors. He's a good actor, too. Don't forget Ron Perlman for playing the speaker for most Fallout games. War never changes. Yes, that is also Ron Perlman. But my favorite role for Ron Perlman's the Lich. I like Ron Perlman as the Lich. I think he's also Hellboy, right? I also really like Hellboy. So I think Ron Perlman voices Hellboy. Correct me if I'm wrong. He does, right? If so, I really like him as Hellboy. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Definitely Ron Perlman and Mark Hamill. It'd be hard to pick between the two of them, but they're my favorites. In live-action Hellboy? Okay. Oh, Tom Kenny's pretty up there, too. SpongeBob, Ice King. God, what else? I'm trying to think, but I've seen him in, like, roles that are... I didn't know it was his voice until, like, someone told me. He's got range. Keith David's pretty peak, obviously. Keith David is very up there. Obviously, Gilbert Gottfried. Yeah, Tom Kenny is Spyro's VA. That's the one I was thinking. That is the one where I was like, no fucking way. And that's when I realized that guy had range. Because I did not hear Tom Kenny and I would never have thought, is that SpongeBob, when I heard Spyro speak? And I played the Spyro games a lot as a kid. Anyway, Alexia, thank you for the $5. I really appreciate that. Very kind of you. Very based. Very pog. Really means a lot and helps a lot. Says, hits with lead pipe. Oops. Hits again. My bad. Hits with sledgehammer. Sorgi. Runs over with car. My bad. That's me when I leave my driveway. Every day. Thank you for the $5. I appreciate it. Let me update the dono goal really fast to reflect you guys' generosity. Thank you, by the way. If I had a nickels where Keith Silverstein's lines were turned into a meme, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. Alrighty. Let me get the next segment brought up. Yeah. Making sure it's the right one in the line. God, where's this video? All right. Y'all know what to do when I say action, right? 3, 2, 1, action. Now, if you guys watch my content, you know that I spend a pretty significant amount of time talking about climate change and things relating to it. Even in non-dedicated segments, which I feel like I do a lot more of than, honestly, I can't think of any other left-wing, like, streamer people that do as much content about climate change as I do, and it doesn't really get a lot of attention, to be fair, and that's kind of a factor in this discussion we're about to get into here in a moment. But, you know, regardless, I'm pretty passionate about climate change, you know? I've always looked at it as a, you know, sort of an existential threat, like sort of a Game of Thrones scenario where, you know, climate change is the long night. There is like the Minecraft darkness effect, the blindness effect, and zombies coming to kill us all, and we're all focused like on completely unrelated, unimportant bullshit in comparison, that when there's like something way more existentially important and broadly affecting of everyone that's like looming. I really care about climate change. In fact, some of my content lately has been pretty focused on the hurricanes that have been happening and talking about how they're a big problem, talking about the fires, the droughts, the massive snowstorms and deep freezes in parts of the country that are not meant to get that cold, and the infrastructure is not made for it because it's never been that cold before. I've been going into this a lot, right? So I want you guys to know, and I think most of you already do going into this, but there could be some new viewers here, that I am not anywhere close to a climate skeptic. Climate change is real. I should clarify, man-made climate change is real, and it is an existential threat. That is not like, you know, a problem for the future. It's a problem right fucking now. Like, there's no more, oh, you know, in 10 years, this is going to be underwater. In 5 years, that's going to be arid and no longer farmable land. It's now. It's happening now. Like, it's currently going down. There's no more ignoring it. There's no more putting it off or waiting for it to get worse, because it is at the critical point where it's so bad that it's worse now. I mean, look at the hurricane damage that's happened, right? Like, a lot of people have died. A lot of property has been damaged. That's going to cost a lot to repair. And I assure you, before they've repaired it, the next massive hurricane will have come through to undo that damage. We're there now. It's happening. It's not a, it's gonna happen. It's happening. And I mean that fully. And it's only going to get worse. There's not going to be any lulls or chill points or waves. Like, it's not fluctuating. It's all just increasingly worse at a fast rate. So, with that in mind, you may be surprised that I consider the actions of the group Just Stop Oil. They are a British/European anti-natural gas advocacy group. I consider most of, well, not most of, but a lot of the political action of Just Stop Oil pretty cringe and unproductive. Now, I'm obviously not referring to, like, picket lines, marches, or even the potential destruction of politicians' private property. Politicians, I should say, that work to prevent climate reform policies. I'm not just saying I'm not against it. I'm not in favor of it, YouTube and the law, but I'm not against it. Just saying. I'm allowed to have my opinions. But that is not what Just Stop Oil is known for. Just Stop Oil gets the most attention by far for their stunts. And a lot of their stunts range from nothing really all that serious. Like, at one point, they attempted to spray their orange paint on Taylor Swift's private jet. I forget how much it is, but, like, apparently Taylor Swift's private jet, like, just for one of her, like, Eras tours, produces as much, greenhouse gases as, like, 1 million people do in a week or something like that. It's, like, an insanely, massively polluting thing compared to, like, the average pollution produced by, like, a single person. And that's just her private jet, right? So, obviously, a lot of people on the left kind of consider Taylor Swift a little bit of, like, a fake progressive when, she's, like, endorsing Biden, super, known for her progressive beliefs, but at the same time, she pollutes more than, most people could ever do in their lives in, like, one tour or whatever. Like, it's something like that insane. Like, the private jet does a lot of pollution. It's not like, it's only like a drop in the bucket, but it's not great. Anyway, that's not what Just Stop Oil is really known for. Just Stop Oil is known for primarily their destruction of property. And I don't mean, like, private property that's, like, belonging to politicians behind the blocking of, climate reforms. Like, I'm not talking targeted attacks on the property of people who are responsible for the government of, in this case, the UK, not doing enough about climate change. Instead, they do things like this, where they failed to vandalize a Van Gogh piece, or where they sprayed orange starch on Stonehenge. Like, the only reason they do these things, and I know because I've listened to their speakers and members speak now, the only reason they do these things are the following. They want to keep climate change in the news as much as possible. Now, I actually watched a really good video by a guy named Tom Nicholas. He's not perfect. He is friends with Hassan and a couple of other, like, cringe, tanky YouTubers, but he did a good video where he infiltrated this group. Infiltrated, quote unquote. He talked to the people there, and then he went with them when they did one of their attempts at a big, like, call to attention, right? They do these things that are meant to anger people and provoke right-wing media outlets, right? Because, Fox News can't resist this. Sky News, whatever right-wing outlets you can think of, they can't resist talking about this and turning it into a big thing, right? But they are getting climate change in the news, right? And that's their explanation. That's their logic. I actually watched this entire video. I've already seen the entirety of it. We're going to watch a bit of it ourselves, but not anywhere near all of it. And I'm going to steel man Just Stop Oil as much as I can. But I'm also going to maintain my position that they are cringe, but I'm going to add to my take, and I think my take now is going to be a lot better, despite still having the same position at the end of the day, because now I know more about these people. Apparently, supposedly, now granted, Tom Nicholas is not a 100% reliable source, considering, some of the company he keeps is definitely a little sus, but regardless, according to him, there is no foundation in the idea that Just Stop Oil is funded by or run by people with connections to the oil industry. There has been a long-running theory, particularly by people on the left, because of how negative the reception of Just Stop Oil is pretty much unanimously. There's been a conspiracy that Just Stop Oil is funded by oil companies. I feel like that kind of speaks to a lot of my point, by the way. The fact that, like, lefties found their activism so cringe and counterproductive that they were like, please let this just be some oil company funded psyop. Please. I don't think it is. I don't think it is. I think these people are genuine. And we're going to watch some clips from this video. And I imagine some of you will be steadfast in your support for Just Stop Oil, which... you're allowed to have your opinion. I don't really care, honestly. But I imagine a lot of you are going to perhaps get a bit more of an insight into what they do, and I don't think it's going to make your opinion any more positive for the most part, for most of you. At least it doesn't make my opinion on them any more positive, but I definitely understand why they do what they do better now, even if I don't agree with it. Their claim is that the anger that people have towards them is at least attention that is going at least tangentially to the climate issue. So let's watch a bit of this video and see his experience going undercover to do a stunt of vandalism with Just Stop Oil and see what they're like and what they're about. Let's see if I was wrong about Just Stop Oil.
You're watching Sky News, Gareth Barlow with you. I just want to remind you of some breaking developments that have happened in the last 10 to 15 minutes or so. These are Just Stop Oil protesters. We can show you this footage now. And you can see these two women. They're about to remove a hammer and chisel there. You can see and hear the strikes of that hammer against the chisel head.
Okay, so I guess I need to do some explaining, and maybe some apologising. As the nice news presenter's just been saying, these two ladies over here, Sue and Judy, are Just Stop Oil protesters, who are attempting to smash the glass surrounding Magna Carta, one of the most...
Oh, by the way, if you're wondering why a lot of what they do is vandalizing art, like a lot of what they're known for is if there's like a play or a concert or some kind of big event, they might crash it, like run on stage and start like fucking stuff up, getting in the way of the event, just ruining it, like stopping the event so people can't enjoy it. And their tagline for why they do that is the quote, "There was no art in a dead world." And so a lot of their activism involves destroying art because you cannot enjoy art if climate change happens and we all become extinct and the world gets destroyed. I feel like most of you guys know why that's just really bad and cringe by me simply saying it. They target art because they believe there will be no art in a dead world, so they destroy it and ruin it for people to send that message. I swear to God, someone stop me from Fed posting. My historian ass cannot take this. Well, you're going to see them claim here, the Just Stop Oil activists arguing that they're actually the next generation of radical activists, and that they're actually representing the idea of the Magna Carta more than it does. And that's also part of why they're going to vandalize it. They'll explain it all. I'll let them speak for themselves. I don't want to mischaracterize them.
Important documents in the history of Western democracy. And this gormless blob floating into shot? Well, yeah, that's me. Sorry for spoiling the view. This moment of symbolic criminal damage was the adrenaline-filled high point of a tense 24 hours I spent in the company of the UK's most controversial climate protesters. My goal? To try and understand what drives campaigners to engage in this kind of action.
Okay, I don't know if I'll remember or end up getting to show the clip, but it's the clip from this video that stuck with me the absolute most. At one point, he's interviewing a member of Just Stop Oil, and the member says, "It really sucks that there's nothing else the working class can do to have an impact on the way our government does things." I am very glad that Tom Nicholas then proceeds to say, "Except, Britain just got a new government after the new round of elections. In fact, the new elected officials are far more amenable to climate change policies than any that have been elected before." He goes on to explain that actually voting exists, and as a matter of fact, there was just an election, and the new politicians that just took power are far more pro-climate change action than any that have come before. Because as that one girl that he interviews actively indicated she doesn't believe in with her words, they don't believe that voting is a valid way to have an impact. They like a lot of the people who join these groups are the kind of people that, like I argued before, Hassan, markets to. The kind of people who believe voting is like a rigged system, and that the only way to have any change in the world or any impact is to be a LARPer. And to get as much attention as possible, and to be more than anything, and this will become a very running theme for Just Stop Oil protesters, as you're about to see, is martyrdom. They all want to be martyred. That is a very much a running theme.
What it takes to pull off such a stunt, and whether or not attacking old documents is really likely to bring about a change in the government's climate policy. Answering those questions has involved entering a world of encrypted messaging, code names, secret cameras, and endless arrests. It's involved speaking with a range of folks with various relationships to and thoughts about Just Stop Oil's activism.
If you're wondering, this is the girl who said that there's nothing else that the working class can do to make change besides these acts of destructive protest. There's no other way, guys. There's just no other way.
Range of folks with various relationships to and thoughts about Just Stop Oil's activism, and it's required delving into some of the growing body of academic research surrounding why some political movements succeed in achieving their aims, whilst others fail. One caveat to all of this. Whilst this video is going to involve some debate surrounding the political tactics of Just Stop Oil, one thing is not up for question. According to the United Nations Environment Programme, the planet
One thing I will praise them for, that this is a very base level of praise. As far as I'm aware, I could be wrong, but as far as I'm aware, no Just Stop Oil protester has ever laid a finger on anybody. It is very common that people physically lay their hands on them to try to stop them from destroying, like, works of art that typically they're there to see, like Stonehenge. Like, if you're a guest there to see Stonehenge and someone starts fucking with it like that, you might step in and be like, yo, stop, I came here to see this, you know? And so they get their, like, hands laid on them often, and they do nothing in response. That's part of their, like, rules and their way of doing things, is that they expect for the cops, for employees, security guards, and random people to physically maybe even assault them, and that part of their movement's goal is to do nothing in response. Like, if they get hit, they want to be caught on video not doing anything, and they want to be martyred, right? Part of it is obviously they don't want to go to jail and be charged with anything illegal, but they also want to be martyred. Like, if they can get a video of a bunch of people beating them up and them not hurting anyone, then they want that video. They want that to exist.
Live On is presently on track to hit a devastating 2.9 degrees Celsius of global warming this century. Such a world would...
I don't like the way that a lot of climate scientists and climate activists talk about the dangers of climate change. Nobody gets what that means. 2.9 degrees Celsius average increase in global temperature by set date. That doesn't mean anything to the majority of people. What does mean something to people is, okay, so yeah, you know how, like, 10 years ago, the hurricanes that have been normal for the last 2 years in Florida were like once every 100-year storms? You know how they're like once a month storms now? That's not normal, and that's like a small symptom of like the beginning of the world-ending effects of climate change. Like, this is like, we've now entered the apocalyptic phase of it. Like, we're at the start of the apocalypse phase, and this is just like the least shitty part of the apocalypse phase. We're in that least shitty area now, and it only gets worse from here. We only get deeper into apocalypse phase now. Like, I think that's a way more effective and frankly accurate way to depict the state of climate change than like the way it's talked about with this like hyper technical. Nobody besides climate scientists and very, very educated people know how severe a 2.9 Celsius average increase in global temperatures is. It is catastrophic, by the way, like so fucking bad, like insanely bad, like end of the world bad, like deadly heat strokes every summer, millions dead a year from heat strokes every summer. That's how bad it is. Doesn't sound like a lot to the layman, but it's that apocalyptically bad.
Would be one of extreme, widespread, and regular heat waves. One in which much of the Maldives, the Seychelles, Amsterdam, and New Orleans have disappeared under rising seas, and in which hundreds of millions...
Dude, you guys know, like, Venice is flooded. Like most of the year. Hold on, let me see if I can bring up some Venice floods. Excuse me. Like, this is Venice on a regular basis now. It's been a constant problem, but it's only getting worse at an escalating rate. It's not that, like, it's quickly getting bad. It's that the rate of its getting bad is escalating and getting faster over time. Like, the rate of worsening is getting faster as time goes by. And so we're probably, like, a decade away from, like, Venice vacations being something that are only done by boat. Like, legitimately, they're having to build temporary infrastructure to deal with the constant rising waters. And mind you, this is a town built on canals. So imagine you're just like, they have to build these because people will walk off of the edge of the canals and just fall into like 9-foot deep water or whatever, you know? Like, because it's only knee deep here. But then if this is the edge of a canal, you wouldn't know. You'd walk into it and it's like, woo! Sunk to the bottom because you just took a step. It's like stepping off of a sandbar when you're at the beach. And then here's another image of what it's like. Like, it's bad, guys. Like, we're there now. It's happening now. It's not a thing of the future anymore. For so long, we had this, like, unfortunate, well, it's been fortunate in a way, but unfortunate, uphill battle of having to swear on our lives. It's gonna get bad, guys. It's bad now. If you deny that it's bad, then you're, I guess, anti-humanity. Like, you don't believe that hurricanes are real. Like, there are conspiracy theorists that are at that point now, but the stats, even in America, show that there's a pretty strong favorability towards a belief in man-made climate change. We've kind of already won the war of convincing people it exists as much as it can be, but people, even who are convinced that it's real, aren't fully convinced that it is as imminent of a threat as it is. Like, people know it exists, but people don't get how big of a problem it is.
Millions of people would be displaced from their homes. If we want to avoid such a calamitous scenario, the question is not if we stop using oil and other fossil fuels, but when we do so. And our speed or hesitancy here will have a direct link to how many lives we're able to save. As things stand, neither government...
I do want to skip around this video a lot because it's so fucking long. There's a particular part of it that is probably the best part of it to watch. Yeah, here it is. This is when they go to try and destroy the Magna Carta.
Things might be about to get going.
I have seen the Magna Carta.
I found myself a spot where I could be ready to follow Sue and Judy into the Magna Carta room the moment they leapt into action. And before long, they did. As Sue and Judy ambled through the exhibition, I set my iPhone recording and followed along. Now, you might assume that one of the foundational documents of the British Constitution might have a security guard stationed permanently by its side. But it doesn't. There is a camera on the ceiling, but the fact Magna Carta is situated in a side room away from the rest of the exhibits means that unless a member of staff happens to wander into that room on their rounds, it's kind of tucked away from view. This gave Sue and Judy ample time to make their preparations. They put down their bags, took a moment to gather their emotions, and then Judy...
What will be the rights narrative once Venice and other countries, or states like Florida, I should add, go away? It'll be the same as what Marjorie Taylor Greene did. They'll find a way to blame Jews and Democrats and minorities. It'll be like, oh, these wildfires aren't because of climate change. They're because of Jewish space lasers. They'll find a way. Like, they'll acknowledge the disasters, and they'll find a way to actually blame it on us.
Judy took off her jacket to reveal her Just Stop Oil t-shirt. Then, as Sue held the chisel in place, Judy began to hammer. But what's it like to perform an action like this? We hear a fair bit from media commentators on the impacts of Just Stop Oil's stunts, but what emotions are running through activists' heads as they pull off one of these audacious actions? Even being present in the room, knowing that Sue and Judy were about to pull off their demonstration, I was absolutely pranging out.
It's not
Never
a replica,
has a man
no, it's the
sweated
original.
so much whilst watching a video of William Hague.
Sue and Judy, on the other hand, were looking endlessly calm. Judy had even come up and said good morning.
It was hard to imagine that they were about to not only start causing commotion in a crowded room, but perform an act of criminal damage for which they knew they would be arrested and then carted off to a police station.
In order to get a better sense of what it's like to perform a stunt like this, I met up with Hassan, a JSO supporter who's taken part in a couple of actions with the group to date.
My name is Hassan, and outside of this, I am a student. I'm currently studying robotics at London Met, so yeah, I want to be an engineer one day, software and hardware. I've taken 2 cultural actions. I disrupted Les Mis, found guilty quite recently actually for that. I also broke the glass.
Yeah, they do that a lot. They like to disrupt concerts and plays. Basically just the kind of, there's nobody who likes this, you know? Like, there are some super hyper radical leftists that like this, but even among like left-leaning climate change believing people, it's always like, yeah, but we're not like those Just Stop Oil people. We're not associated with them. And there are actually countless other climate change organizations that have called out Just Stop Oil. They're not just controversial broadly. They are controversial within the world of organizations that fight against climate change. In fact, there are numerous organizations whose entire like tagline is about quote unquote mainstreaming climate change action. Basically, their entire goal is to get as many people as possible involved in fighting against climate change. That is what they are all about. That is their motto and their creed. And these are the organizations that primarily call out Just Stop Oil. So I want to be very clear here. It is not just random people on the internet, random grillers and conservative pundits that have been calling out Just Stop Oil's actions for being counterproductive, but a large swath of other climate change activist groups, particularly much larger ones and more populated with members ones than Just Stop Oil, because they're simply more effective. The main criticism is, no matter how much you agree with the idea of what they're doing here, it's not having the effect that you're going for, right? And if that's what matters at the end of the day, is the effect, then yeah, like they claim, oh, we're keeping climate change in the news. No, you're not. No one that talks about this is talking about climate change. If anything, it's distracting from a conversation about climate change. We're not talking about climate change. We're talking about how climate activists are going too far. Nothing about this makes people more knowledgeable, concerned, and willing to fight against climate change. If anything, it makes people view activism as the kind of thing people like this do. The kind of thing you should avoid, because you don't want to be seen like these people. You don't want to be around these people who are going to get you arrested and make you look like a fool to the entire world, as every news station left and right besmirches you for trying to demolish a piece of art that people love.
Of the Rokeby Venus painting, so in the National Gallery, so I'm not allowed back there.
Her experience was that undertaking an action like this is an absolute whirlwind of different emotions.
The experience of taking a Just Stop Oil action is like none other, you know, it's like you feel like everyone knows what you're doing when, on the way there. You're like, oh my God, everyone knows, the security knows, the police know already.
You know, like I said before, I wouldn't have a problem with this organization if instead they were like, hey, insert British politician number 43 voted against this big climate change action bill. Let's go spray paint orange their car, their front yard, let's salt their yard and garden and like spray paint orange their car and their front yard and front of their house. And they're willing to go to jail for private property damage, for trying to damage like works of art and museum property. Are they not willing to go to jail for like demolishing or fucking up the property of the politicians behind these problems, or the CEOs and executives that are behind this stuff? Like if they were doing this like destruction of property and terrorism type stuff, like soft terrorism type stuff against the people responsible, I don't think anywhere near as many people would be as upset. It's the fact that their way of activism is to destroy the fun of random people and to say, see, this is what will happen to everything you like if climate change wins. No one likes that. It reminds me of how there was a recent rash of road blocking protests, and people were like, what do you mean road blocking protests are one of the most unpopular form of protest that is popular in the United States? And like, I don't know why people choose to participate in that. Like, a famously unpopular form of protest, let's do it. No one likes it, and people even generally agree with our position, but we're going to protest for that position in a way that is statistically measured as the least effective. I don't know, man. I don't know how you can think this way or act this way and not see the blatant flaws.
But at the same time, you're very calm because it's just what needs to be done. You're in civil resistance now.
The night before,
I'm mad about a cause. I think I'll prevent an ambulance and fire truck from getting where they need to go. Well, there's that, but also the Just Stop Oil protesters openly say, word for word, part of why they glue themselves to the things that they destroy, so you'll see that in a moment, they super glue themselves, is to make the cops come and arrest them. They have to be removed by police, right? They want to get arrested. They don't want to just get escorted out by security, because that doesn't end up being on the news and stuff. And so what they say is that they do it so they could get arrested and get the attention of the arrest, but also because, and I quote, it wastes police time and resources. And remember, these folks also believe we need to like defund the police and the police are evil, and that any time they can waste a cop's time, it must be time that they would otherwise be harassing minorities or enforcing systemic racism, right? Not that these cops could, be responding to like a violent call for help or you know, you could be blocking cops from being first responders at a scene where they need to be. No, you know, they're only doing bad stuff, and wasting their time and resources is always good, apparently. Obviously not. This is fucking stupid, hyper-lefty Hassan viewer logic, but hey, there's a reason why Hassan's the largest figure on the left. A lot of young people, and for some reason really old people based on this video, are into this stuff.
Or Judy had confessed to feeling similarly anxious.
I'm feeling nervous, yes. It's not something I spend my time doing, smashing up national treasures, let's say that. No, I wouldn't. Nor I'm a terribly conventional person. I went to a convent school, I taught in a convent.
There's something also kind of fucked up about the idea of a climate change activism organization destroying works of art, beauty, or history, that, like, so future generations can't enjoy them, or at least that's their goal when they do these things, when, like, to do as much destruction to the thing as possible so it gets as much attention as possible. When meanwhile, that's like one of the big concerns about climate change, right? Like, one of the things I always heard growing up was, enjoy this nature while you can. It's not going to be the same when you grow up. And I never really took it that seriously as a little kid, because, you know, you think the world's going to stay the same forever. But then as, like, even a 16-year-old, I'd go back to the same places, and it's like, fuck, that was right. Like, it's happened. Like, it done happened. This is not the same place as I visited when I was 8. You know, like, that happened to me at a surprisingly young age, and now it's just gotten to be more and more true with every passing year. So the idea that, like, for me, one of the biggest wake-up calls about climate change being real was that I need to appreciate these, like, this natural beauty while it exists, because it's not going to exist when I get older. It's that is how short of a time I have to enjoy these things if things don't change. And frankly, when I was growing up, no one in my family telling me these things had any hope there would be change. So it was just, it's not going to be like this when you grow up. Just a simple statement of fact. And they were right. And so the idea that they would do that to man-made works of beauty, works of history, things that, you know, people want to see Stonehenge one day. People want to see, like, the Van Gogh original paintings in the museums one day. People want to see the Magna Carta, like the fundamental founding document of, of the British fucking Empire or whatever, or British democracy, I guess, not the Empire. The idea that you would destroy these things and deny future generations from seeing these things as anything other than videos, photos, and in history books, you're doing what climate change is doing, you know? It's like, it's weird. There's this weird, like, parallel, this like, there's two sides of the same coin between the evil of climate change and Just Stop Oil and what they do. It's almost, like, poetic.
Nevertheless, Panan did suggest that there is something empowering about having the sense that someone is...
Xanderhall, I thought you were homeless or something. Why?
Doing something to resist government complacency on the climate crisis.
It's like you are non-compliant with anything, with your arrest, like all the way up from, you know, getting there, all the way up to the arrest. It's like non-compliancy. I know some people that have, like, had to be carried from their arrest into the police van, out of the police van, into the police station, and I think that attitude is...
They do the dead weight thing.
The essence of taking these actions, which is just like non-compliance with a government that literally doesn't care.
I can't see inside their heads, but perhaps it was that same sense of empowerment and of taking action against inaction which powered on Sue and Judy as they began to crack Magna Carta's protective casing. I counted 13 whacks of the hammer before a security guard came over to intervene. Perhaps there's someone keeping an eye on the security cameras who had instructed them to head over, or perhaps a member of the public had told them what was going on. Maybe the almighty...
I don't know why they thought it was possible to break through ballistic glass with a hammer and chisel. Like, I'm pretty sure you could have, like, Thor Bjornsson, the previous world's strongest man, and the guy who played the Mountain in Game of Thrones, hammering away at with a hammer and chisel 3 times the size of those. I don't think he'd be able to break it. Maybe after a while, but, like, not in 15 hits, I don't think. Because you got to be a little, like, you can't fully just, like, hammer down. You got to be a little precise with these. So, I don't know why they even thought this was going to work, to be honest.
Mighty racket the chisel was making was enough.
It's the thought that counts.
Either way, I'd assumed that every even vaguely prominent landmark in London would have a dedicated Just Stop Oil response plan by this point. A kind of code orange, if you will. The group's actions have been so widespread that they've got to at least know it's a possibility.
There's no way. Wait.
Well, the group's action...
Is that a fucking ambulance? That looks like how, like, newer ambulances will look in America. I've seen ones that are like vans like this. I don't think it is, though. I thought it was an ambulance for a second. I was gonna say, there's no way this is a video of them road blocking an ambulance. That's an ambulance, yeah? Is it really? No shot. No. There's no way this is a video of them road blocking an ambulance. There's no fucking way. There's no way that video exists. That'd be too perfect. It'd be too perfect of a point just made with a photo.
Have been so widespread that they've got to at least know it's a possibility.
Okay, no, it's a cop car. There were cops getting out of it.
The group's actions have been...
Look, see, those are cops. I don't think those are paramedics. These are cops arriving, I think.
So widespread that they've got to at least know it's a possibility.
I'm in
they
the
might
UK,
turn
that's not
up
the
one
ambulance.
day.
It's
Didn't
police.
seem to be the case. Instead, the initial reaction was largely one of confusion. In typically British fashion, the security guard first simply asked them what they were doing. But before long, it became pretty evident who they were and why they were here.
One of my biggest criticisms of Just Stop Oil is that they aren't even American. Like, yeah, they're pieces of shit, but they aren't even American. They're fucking Europeans. I know, right? Like, why are they getting all, like, bent out of shape about this shit? They're fucking Britain. Like, they need to calm down. It's not that serious. They're not America. Like, nothing matters all that much. Like, it's chill out.
As he attempted to gain some control over the situation and call for some backup, Sue and Judy moved on to giving a brief statement.
Pick a struggle. You can't be a piece of shit and European. Good God.
Statement explaining why they'd done what they'd done.
As a Christian, I am compelled to do all that I can.
The government is breaking the law.
The appalling suffering that's coming around and is here already. So we must.
What are you, a fucking liberal?
Yes, as a handful of bemused library visitors looked on, the pair calmly unfolded a pair of stools they brought with them, sat down, and began supergluing themselves to the exhibit. This is fairly standard practice for JSO stunts. It ensures activists can remain in place and forces whatever internal security team is working in a particular location to have to call the police to safely remove them. Given this meant they were unable to do much about Sue and Judy, the security team switched their focus to trying to clear the Magna Carta room of guests, and I was only too happy to oblige. Back in the main room, it was fascinating to observe the extent to which this big stunt both had and hadn't affected everyone's inbuilt understanding of how to behave in a library. On the one hand, a large proportion of folks present had gathered round to try and get a good look of what was going on. On the other, everyone remained firmly in hushed-voiced library mode. Watching the security team try to block people's view of the activists...
Dude, it's Britain. Like, no one's gonna speak up in a library. Like, dude, I think a British person could get, like, stabbed to death by Jack the Ripper in a library, and they would not dare to let their voice get so loud that the person in the row next to them could hear. You know, it's just... Say what you want about the British. They are very polite.
Presumably in the hope that folks would move on, it was hard not to feel a deep sense of sympathy for the team. It was already the kind of boiling hot day which seems to break the souls of most Brits, and this had just turned into the shift from hell. All of which points to one of the major criticisms of Just Stop Oil's tactics.
No, that's how Jack the Ripper got away with it, by the way. No one that he killed would scream, because you're not supposed to yell. That's unsightly, and that's a public disturbance. British people don't yell. So Jack the Ripper would never, like, his victims never screamed, so he always got away with it. It's that listen, the British may be polite, and politeness is a virtue, but it can also be a weakness.
There's obviously been some predictable pearl-clutching from right-wing voices such as the presenters at GB News, who have regularly invited activists onto their shows to spy.
Trust me, like, as much as I don't like Just Stop Oil, you better believe the far right and just general conservative news outlets have used Just Stop Oil to push much more radically negative positions on them than I would even agree with. Most right-wing pundits use their stuff as like arguments for why climate activists as a whole should be criminalized and should have their rights to protest taken away. So for all of the hemming and hawing that I could do about Just Stop Oil. What I find to be the much more worrying thing, and what this video focuses on a lot towards the end, is the fact that a lot of these Just Stop Oil protesters have been charged with some pretty bullshit stuff. Like, even in the cases where they haven't taken any part in violating property or anything, they've been charged just for recording what's gone down, with charges like conspiracy to start a public nuisance. Things that are basically, like, you've been charged for thinking about committing a public nuisance. And on top of that, the police will oftentimes drive them to police stations as far away as they can manage from where they got arrested, and then release them at like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. So they'll be really far from home, most likely. They won't have their car, most likely, because they got arrested and driven miles and miles and miles to another police station as far away as possible. And it's 2 a.m., so who can they call to give them a ride? It is part of the police and the government in the UK going beyond the bounds of their legal responsibility to vindictively punish these protesters. And I may think these protesters are cringe, and they're certainly breaking the law, but when the police and the government start overriding their actual, well, not First Amendment rights, they're not American, but their freedom of speech, the concept of being able to express yourself, I don't agree with it. I don't care if it's not America. You should still be free to record people throwing soup on a painting. That shouldn't get you arrested and then taken 50 miles to the furthest police station and then let go at 2 a.m. in the morning because they specifically wanted to take as long as possible and release you with the worst time that you could have, right? And that's been the experience of a lot of these protesters and many other protesters, part of other groups, right? This isn't just a Just Stop Oil thing. There's a bit here I wanted to show as well about Just Stop Oil's critics. That's not the conservative pundits, but instead it's about, this is the crackdown on political activism segment, but I'm looking for the bit. Yeah, here we go. Does Just Stop Oil's activism work? This is where we actually give a platform to other climate change activist organizations that have called out and disagree with Just Stop Oil, and see them as counterproductive.
In fact, alongside trying to give an insight into how Just Stop Oil pull off their actions, the key question I wanted to try and answer with this video is, does the disruptive form of non-violent protest, which is their modus operandi, work? We've already heard some differing thoughts on that in the abstract, but it would be silly to have that conversation.
Tom Nicholas is extremely, extremely favorable towards Just Stop Oil in this video. He's part of that part of the left, if you know what I mean. Like, if you look at the content creators he collabs with and aligns with, you'll get what I mean. But overall, I think the video is really good, even if it's a little bit naively sympathetic towards Just Stop Oil. However, this is the point in the video where I feel it gets a little more real. It stops being so oversympathetic, and it actually does give a little bit of a platform to the criticisms that aren't from insane lunatics that want climate change activists arrested and killed.
Without at least acknowledging that JSO's core demand has, at least in principle, been met. On the 4th of July 2024, the UK got a new government, and the incoming Labour administration have promised to join Denmark, France and Ireland in imposing a ban on the issuing of new licences for the drilling of oil and gas. Of course, how much of that decision can be attributed directly to Just Stop Oil is perhaps up.
Pretty much none, because this is a new government that got elected and ran on progressive policies, and people voted for progressive policies, particularly because the Tories and fucking Brexit and all of the bullshit that conservatives and British government have done for the last 8, 9, 10 years or whatever has been absolutely fed up with by the British, it seems. The last 10 years have been pretty cringe. I think we're probably seeing a little bit of a political swing in the UK, more likely than not. I'm popping my back. I hope so. I hope the UK sees a bit of a swing more towards progressive leadership. It seems like it's heading that way based on recent elections.
For debate. We've certainly seen that British politicians have, at least in public, been totally disparaging of the group's tactics. Net Zero Secretary Ed Miliband recently described their approach as disastrous in terms of persuading people to come to our cause.
Yeah, these are members of the new government. Institutions have been set up to help Britain achieve zero net emissions, which is, you know, obviously what the goal is here. These are like the actual, like, the organizations within government that now exist as of very recently due to the election, that are outright saying, yeah, Just Stop Oil is one of the most destructive groups to the cause of climate change activism that there is.
Government and the incoming Labour administration have promised to join Denmark, France and Ireland in imposing a ban on the issuing of new licenses for the drilling of oil and gas. Of course, how much of that decision can be attributed directly to Just Stop Oil is perhaps up for debate. We've certainly seen that British politicians have, at least in public, been totally disparaging of the group's tactics. Net Zero Secretary Ed Miliband recently described their approach as disastrous in terms of persuading people to come to our cause. Nevertheless, it would be almost ludicrous to suggest that it wasn't at least a factor. Perhaps unsurprisingly...
No argument made, by the way, for how it would be ludicrous to suggest that Just Stop Oil wasn't a factor in the new elected government being more progressive. Just implying it would be crazy to say they've had no effect. That's positive. Like I said, this video is kind of baselessly supportive of Just Stop Oil, but it does do a better job of breaking down the whole of the situation than I've seen anyone else do. Zan, David Tennant said that Rishi Sunak looks tired, and then the entire conservative wing of the UK came crumbling down. That is the true power of the Doctor. Real. Literally real. If they did an episode every season of Doctor Who about how awful the Tories are, the Tories would never win another election again. They'd have to rename their party.
James was keen to argue that Just Stop Oil had been a central part of setting the agenda here.
So one thing that we notice is that even when we're not taking action now, when oil and gas is spoken about, oftentimes you'll hear TV presenters using our talking points because basically we've been hammering a message.
I remember watching this video the first time and hearing this. This is a Just Stop Oil member claiming that climate activists and news like anchors that talk about climate change and believe in it repeat their talking points, meaning Just Stop Oil's talking points. Now, let me tell you why this immediately stood out to me as a bullshit claiming of credit. What talking points could you have originated about climate change? Because the talking points are data points and numbers and predictions by climate scientists. Just Stop Oil isn't an organization of climate scientists, it's an organization of activists. They don't have original talking points. If anything, they have found data presented by climate scientists, and they have made talking points out of the data, but they're not really original. You can't claim that news anchors saying that the Earth is going to warm a certain amount by this date is your talking point because you've used it. Like, what? I was going to say it's organization of dumb fucks, but I guess activist works. I don't think it's entirely accurate though. No, like I said, though, they're taking credit for supposedly their talking points becoming popular, as if they are the only climate change activism organization, and as if an activist organization could originate talking points about a climate issue that we only know about, well, we don't only know about, but we know the majority of information about because of climate scientists far more qualified than any of us. That's why we believe in it, is that we trust these experts. That argument stood on its face as weird to me, you know, and for that reason. Excuse me.
Again and again and again.
Examples of similar groups taking action in other countries only further suggests that direct action can, at least sometimes, get the goods. A Swedish sister group of JSO called Restore Wetlands recently declared victory on its demands that the government protect the country's endangered wetlands after a 2-year campaign of gluing themselves to highways. In 2023, the Netherlands chapter of Extinction Rebellion
So, here's the big problem with this. Much like with Just Stop Oil, these activist organizations will take credit for anything, even if it's something that happened because of something they don't agree with. For example, seems like Just Stop Oil is not really big on encouraging their members to vote, considering none of the members refer to voting as a form of activism or a thing you can do to exert political power. And in fact, one of the members interviewed in this video says that there's nothing else you can do but this direct action stuff, as they call it. However, what's most likely happened is like progressive governments got elected in, like in the UK, and they took credit for it. When I hear direct action, I feel like I'm watching that DJ Mule video again. Yeah, especially when you hear it in a British accent.
Managed to force the government to launch an inquiry into fossil fuel subsidies. Back in the UK, JSO activists...
Direct action is a buzzword and a virtue signal, by the way. Like, direct action is a real thing in the world of, like, activism and stuff, but direct action is stuff like, you're either, like, outright engaging in terrorism against a fascistic government state, or you're, like, out there volunteering to directly improve people's lives. This is not direct action. This is LARPing.
Remained disappointed that the incoming Labour
direct action is a term that used to mean a real thing, and it still does technically, but internet lefties have, like, co-opted it to refer to their LARP. How many people do you know about that, like, tout how much direct action they do, and they have firebombed 0 Walmarts?
Government had stopped short of revoking the hundreds of new...
That's my favorite meme, by the way. Whenever someone says voting does nothing, and that if you only vote, you're just, you're doing nothing to affect change in the world, I always love when people simply reply, status of your local Walmart. It's my favorite meme. It's in reference to that one tweet where the person said, people really say voting has no impact, and the only way to make change is to firebomb your local Walmart, and then they won't firebomb their local Walmart. And so you always just reply, status of your local Walmart? Whenever some LARPy lefty talks about, you know, voting not doing anything. The only LARPers we like are those in the Ren Fair. True.
New oil and gas licenses, which were issued in the final year of the outgoing Tory government.
It's a weird one, really, because the week that happened, we were like, oh, we've won. But beyond that, there was no kind of sense of
we won, guys. We did it. We did it, guys. We won. People voted and elected a new government into power. This new government must have different policies because they're listening to us. We won, guys. Our method is working.
Wanting to celebrate, really, because, like, we know, and the science tells us that realistically this isn't enough. And the fact is that Labour haven't committed to ending all the oil and gas licenses that were greenlit by the Tories since 2021.
Along with allied organisations.
Oh, on top of that, most climate organizations recognize, like, a actual path to eliminating carbon-producing fuel usage. Like most climate organizations, like, I'm pretty sure the climate accords or the Green New Deal or whatever it was called, it was like originally like drafted, like the points in it were originally drafted by like a group of climate change activist organizations, like awareness organizations. And it was adopted, those policies, most of them were adopted into that, if I'm not mistaken. And so, don't get me wrong, activist organizations have had an impact before, but I must say, these activist organizations typically have a plan. Just Stop Oil, you'll notice, is all about their catchphrase, just stop oil. Just flip the switch. Stop using oil right now. Why won't you just do it? The fact is, you couldn't. In the case of America, like, we're exploiting a shit ton of oil, but on top of that, like, we still rely on oil for a lot of our energy production. As cool as it would be to just overnight replace it with green energy, that's not really possible. There's a reason why the most radical step taken to, like, reach carbon neutrality was taken by Biden, and that is eliminating the coal industry by 2035. That's still a little while away. It's not as quick as I think is ideal, but it is the fastest that is possible. Unfortunately, like, the scientists and engineers couldn't make us not use oil anymore to a substantial degree, even within a year. It's the kind of thing that takes a long process of converting. Well, a lot of our energy production is done by private corporations. A lot of these private corporations have to somehow, some way, by the government, either be convinced or strong-armed into dropping fossil fuel as the thing they do, and to adopt green energy instead. This means retraining or rehiring new workers. It's a massive undertaking, literally forcing a vast array of companies, private corporations, huge ones, to change the thing that they do, full stop, to a whole new form of energy production. It's massive. It's a massive undertaking. It is not as simple as just stop oil. There's a reason why the reputable and legit activist organizations have plans, and they, like, lobby multiple country governments into adopting their plans, and there was a big deal around Trump refusing to join in with that agreement. Hasn't it been proven that the USA government are hiding power solutions? Honest question. I've been seeing a lot of talk about this. I don't think so. As far as I know, the big, I know that one of the big bottlenecks for green energy production has been storage, and that right now, we're rushing to find the next big technological step up in battery technology. From what I've heard, currently, two of the ideas that people have are big water tanks that would store energy somehow. I don't know the exact science, but they would just be giant water tanks that would act as batteries. And another theory was that you could use coiled copper and giant silos of sand, pure sand, and copper coils. These would be huge, by the way, but they would apparently act as extremely massive and efficient batteries. So that's been an idea that's been presented as a way to deal with it, but there's not really been a solution so good it's been fully implemented, and we're on our way to solving the problem yet. We're still very much looking for the next big step in battery tech. They're working on sodium batteries. There's a lot of things I've heard about, the sand thing, the water thing, sodium batteries. There's a lot of ideas. Hell, they're talking about fusion technology and stuff. There's a lot of ideas and a lot of things being worked on, but we're not quite there yet. And so there's a few bottlenecks technologically. There's a lot of practical issues, and I'm not making any excuses for being slow about this. I'm as someone who is very much not happy about climate change. That's kind of the it's kind of the state of things. We can desalinate water. The problem is we have storage and shipment of desalinated water. Unfortunately, it's not really that easy. I thought water desalination was such an easy, obvious solution, but I've looked into a lot of stuff about that, and it seems like there's a lot of reasons why that's not as obvious as a solution as you'd think. Apparently, desalinating water with the sun, for example, is nowhere near as efficient as you think. Water evaporation does not happen at that fast of a rate to make it a super efficient way to get fresh water or to get a lot of salt. It's done, but it's not done at a large scale because desal is just not super efficient, unfortunately. The best way to desalinate water, by the way, is to use energy. Exactly. Dead Meat Zukulik actually, just said it there. It costs way more energy to produce the water through desalination than other methods. And so, yeah. Salt is hard to store? Is it really? I guess so. I've just seen places where they harvest salt and it's just in giant piles in the middle of a field, but maybe it is hard to store. I don't know. Yeah, we can't just make batteries bigger, too, for some reason. Yeah. They just put the salt back in the ocean? Yeah, I guess they could do that, but wouldn't that eventually increase the ocean salinity too much? I'm not a climate scientist, though, so why should I speak on it?
Organizations in other countries, they've also since expanded their demand.
Now, that's a great first step, but obviously, the scientific community will tell us that isn't anywhere near what we need to be. That isn't commensurate with the scale of the crisis, right? And so what we need is an international legally binding treaty to end the extraction and burning of oil, gas, and coal.
Well, there was an unignorable sense.
That was attempted multiple times, by the way. It's yet to happen. And if it's going to happen, it's unfortunately going to be a step-by-step process. As much as I would love for us to overnight drop and ban the use of fossil fuels, it's just not going to happen. It doesn't matter how much you protest. It's not possible. It's not practically possible. And that's kind of one of the things that's so frustrating about the situation in general, but also people like this, is that a lot of them believe that it is just the stubbornness of people in power that keeps particular change. And a lot of the times it is the stubbornness of people in power that keeps good changes from happening. But this is not necessarily one of them. We're actually at a point where public popularity for climate change like addressing like policy and moves is pretty popular. A lot of our politicians, including our currently elected government in both the UK and the US, believe in climate change and are fighting it more than any administration before. It really does seem like there's not much faster that we can go. You know, we're going pretty fast. Yeah, and on top of that, China is also a big polluter too, so they've got to agree to some kind of agreement that they're not going to agree to if it has any chance of stymieing their massive, like, exponential growth in the market. You know, China has the fastest rate of new millionaires of any country in the world. It's not in any way communist. It's a heavily, heavily market-oriented country. And in fact, their market is growing extremely fast, and they're putting a lot of money and effort into growing their market and making more millionaires. Not because they want their people to be successful and wealthy, but because they want there to be a massive and thriving industry in China. They're rapidly, rapidly moving in that direction. And it's working out pretty well for them. In fact, I believe China is the #1 user of steel and concrete in the entire world. Simply because they are building so much. The fishing industry does an insane amount of polluting, yep. And destruction of the ocean, too, with dragnetting and stuff, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the pollution stuff and fossil fuel emissions are only one part of climate change and, like, the human impact on the world. Even if we end the carbon emissions now, like, literally zero them today or negative them today, there's still countless other ways in which we're destroying the planet that we have to address. It's not just carbon. It's not just the rising temperatures. We're destroying the planet in numerous different ways. Anyway, with all that said, I think that's about all I have for this segment. That's about as much as I can steel man Just Stop Oil, but I do feel that I did a decent job steel manning them and representing their positions, but I nonetheless disagree with them. And I'm glad to see that, at least more than last time I talked about Just Stop Oil, I see a lot more people in chat being like, oh, yeah, this is pretty cringe. But yeah. With that said, if you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like. Every thumbs up goes a long way to help the channel and the algorithm, boosting my videos and getting them in the recommended of more new people, so it really does help a lot, as does commenting down below. Plus, I get to read your nice comments. I like doing that. And consider subscribing and ringing the bell icon to turn on all notifications so that YouTube actually tells you when I go live or upload a new video in the future. And consider following my social medias, which are all linked down below in the description, if you want to see my stuff on other platforms. And consider joining my fan Discord, also linked down below, if you want to join the main hub of my community and fan base, and you don't want to miss any of the announcements I make for my new uploads and streams, because that is the best way to be told. It really is. Like, my Discord doesn't generally bug out when I make an announcement, but YouTube will not tell you when I go live sometimes. But with that said, if you enjoyed this segment, I really appreciate you being here. If you want to support me directly financially, you got the money for it and you feel like it, consider donating to help keep the lights on over here at Xander Hall Studio with a donation on my website or a gifted sub, xanderhall.com/live, or supporting me financially through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, Patreon, or buying merch at the Streamlabs link down below. But regardless of how you support the stream, thank you so much, even if you just watched, and have a good one. I do hope to see you again. Nice. How do you guys like that segment? I feel like it came out pretty good. God damn it, my lights went out. Why did they go? I set it to 6 hours. That's not... It hasn't been 6 hours. It's been 3 hours and 42 minutes. So I know for a fact something is happening to this light. Is it, like, not plugged in all the way? No, it's plugged in. Well, hopefully it doesn't shut off on me again prematurely. I set it to 6 hours before it shuts off. You can't, like, turn off the timer. It always turns off. The longest I can make it go for without turning itself off is 6 hours. It's very annoying. You always have to look at it from the angle of someone who knows nothing about them and has a life. Yeah. And no normal person will look at Just Stop Oil and think they're good. I'm curious what the comments on the video are. The symbolic destruction of the glass shielding of the Magna Carta got everyone's balls in a twist, but nobody batted an eye at several successive years of the Tories destroying the actual rights enshrined within it. It'll always make me giggle when they call Just Stop Oil performative activism when their selective anger epitomizes it. Most people who believe in climate change are mad about the Tories destroying human rights. That does not mean that you are hypocritical if you think it is cringe to attempt to destroy the Magna Carta. I always like that too. The people who defend Just Stop Oil always say, well, they're really incompetent and didn't do a very good job of destroying this monument. Like, if they do something and there's like a glass shielding that they can't get through to destroy the thing they were trying to destroy, it's always like, people got so upset about a crack in the glass. And it's like, well, no, they were upset about the two old ladies standing there gleefully hammering away trying to destroy a document that people have a pretty strong attachment to, conceptually. As a former security guard, we don't want to work. If you'd like me to leave, I'll do that. Means literally minimum work for us. I'll be honest, mate. Lying to the security in that manner is perfect. I guess that's just a comment. This topic often reminds me of things relating to MLK and Malcolm X and the effectiveness of having multiple distinct groups of people take varying methods of hand for an important matter. Edit, to correct spelling of Malcolm X's name as somehow that mistake had slipped past me on initial posting. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. I love that. They got woke scolded and they had to make an apology for misspelling Malcolm X's name because the people in the comments here would literally annihilate you and call you a racist piece of shit for misspelling a black activist's name. That sponsor at the end, a lifetime subscription. I have a vague memory of hearing of such a thing in the ancient past. I believe it was called Actually Owning Something or something like that. Ooh, holy shit. When you cater to this kind of audience... ooh.
Competing with one another in a secret Hitler-like game of deception with an absolutely glorious twist.
He does a Curiosity stream, I think it is, or Nebula is what it's called now. He does a Nebula sponsorship, and I've seen a lot of these bread tubers do Nebula, and their fan bases get really upset when they're like, oh, you want me to sub to a subscription service to watch your content you make exclusively for it and make us pay to watch? Nah, I don't want to pay a subscription to watch exclusive content from you on a platform that you're shilling for. I've seen a lot of people not too big on that. Also...
obsessed with the show already and cannot recommend it enough. We've also recently dropped Jesse Gender's sci-fi short Identities and are ramping up to release Abby from Philosophy Tube's short film Dracula's Ex-Girlfriend.
Listen, I don't hate Abigail Thorne or anything, but I've got a friend. He's a trans guy, really likes vampires. He's a big fan of them conceptually. There's vampires in something, he's in. He's down to watch it. And so, of course, he checked out Dracula's Ex-Girlfriend. He did not like it. In fact, everyone I've spoken to who looked into Dracula's Ex-Girlfriend did not like it and told me it was bad. So, bad news if you were hoping to see that. Jesse Gender, yeah. Like, Tom Nicholas is, like, very much in that sphere. Like, you know, that sphere of lefty YouTube with like Hassan and all that. Don't think he's an awful guy, but you know, you can kind of tell what kind of vibe, you know, what kind of area he's in, you know. You know what's up. You know what's up. You know what I mean. You know what I'm talking about. You've been here long enough to get how things are now. What's wrong with Jesse Gender again? She was in support of the mass harassment campaigns against streamers during the Hogwarts Legacy thing. She made a video that was so bad, with such a bad take on it, at least most of my community doesn't even like her anymore. If you don't remember, a lot of the trans and LGBT community, at least like the really cringe part of it online, got together and mass harassed any streamer or YouTuber that played through and streamed or made content about Hogwarts Legacy. And there was this like social trend or pressure of like, are you trans or gay? Is your favorite YouTuber going to stream Hogwarts Legacy? You have a responsibility to let them know that they're transphobic for this. And so they did. And for like a month, the discourse online was about how the trans community is just harassing and attacking random innocent content creators for playing a game. And then Jesse Gender made a video about how, no, this is fine. Why are people complaining about this harassment? They're completely right to attack these content creators. Basically just saying, like, we need to do more of stuff like that. One of the most ineffective and, like, awful moves from the left, which was the explosion over Hogwarts Legacy, a game that stopped being relevant a month later. No one talks about or plays it anymore. No one cares about it. It had no cultural lasting impact, and it was just the game of the week. Except now we get a lifetime of conservative and normie anti-trans sentiment from the hordes of people attacking innocent content creators. It was very cringe, and a bunch of lefty content creators came out to support it because they had to. They felt they had to. Don't forget the fact she kept calling Shark. Oh yeah, I forgot. She was also on the on board with the calling. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, this was so fucking cringe. Basically, Jesse Gender was pissed off at Vosh for some dumb shit. Mind you, Vosh was being based at the time, and Jesse Gender got mad. And then Shark, I think, if I remember correctly, defended Vosh because what he said was based. And then, in response, Jesse Gender, and then, not Jesse Gender, but a bunch of far-left YouTubers started calling Shark 300 the C-slur and being racist towards him, and calling him like a traitor or whatever, you know, all that good stuff. And Jessie Earl, a.k.a. Jesse Gender, because she's white, I guess couldn't necessarily call Shark the N-word or the C-slur herself and get away with it. So she, if you checked her likes, the whites feeding Shark to the wolves after Soul Bunny called them on they shit. Debate Twitter right now. And this is supposed to be Shark, and this is supposed to be Vosh. If you don't know, this is a reference to the movie Django Unchained. And this is Leonardo DiCaprio playing a character named Calvin Candy, a slave owner who is depicted as, among the slave owners we see throughout the movie, particularly heinous, like kind of the worst of the worst of sorts. And another character shoots and kills him. It's very satisfying. And you could actually argue his best friend, but also his like number one slave or whatever, played by Samuel L. Jackson, who is so mind lost in the self-hate and whatnot, literally cries as bullets fly around over his dead like white man who like doesn't treat him like a person. And so the imagery here is supposed to equate Shark to a literal house slave who cried over the death of a slave owner that owned him. That's the meme. That's what the meme is. That's the comparison being made. So just basically calling Shark self-hating black person, might as well just call them a slur. But of course Jessie couldn't do that, so she just liked tweets from other people doing it instead. So yeah, Jesse Gender is on the cringe side of the left, if you didn't know. There's more examples, but I don't think about Jesse Gender enough to remember them. I didn't even remember this one until people linked it. Yeah, pretty fucking gross. Yeah. Anyway, did I have more stuff for today? No, I think that's where we're ready to wrap up for the night. Ugh. Unfortunately, no Streamerino tomorrow. It is my day off. As, sadly, stream the last 2 days, then I take a day off, then I stream 2 days, then a day off. It's a pretty good cadence. However, the day after tomorrow, after my next stream, which will be this Friday, we're doing a watch party in my Discord server. We're going to be watch partying the next 3 episodes of Rings of Power. It's Season 2, episodes 4 through 6, or 4 through 6 of Rings of Power. We're watching the next 3 episodes, and I basically have seen a constantly dropping amount of attendance in the watch parties lately, which tells me there's a very low desire and demand for them, as with like other community events I've been doing as well. And people say, oh, it's just you got to pick a different show or whatever, but it's like, that's my point. Like, if I have to pick the right show and gamble every time I do a watch party for there to be attendance, then it's very clear there's not a lot of desire for watch parties conceptually. It's like, well, if you watch party a given thing, maybe, but generally people aren't really down for them, it seems, especially if you consider the total number of people in the Discord. So this Friday, the day after tomorrow, I'm going to host a watch party of Rings of Power, and I'm going to use attendance as like a democratic vote for if people are really like that into watch parties and if they want them to stay around. So it'll be tomorrow after, or not tomorrow, the day after tomorrow on Friday after stream. Gonna host a watch party, the next 3 episodes of Rings of Power, and if you are interested in casting your vote in favor of watch parties continuing, then come to the watch party. I'm not too interested in Rings of Power, then you don't have to come to the watch party. But no, there will not be future shows watch partied. I watched From and Avatar The Last Airbender. All cool. All cool. Check my donations. Oh, I saw it, Slashy. I'll get to it in a second. The only reason I'm going to this watch party is because I want to attend other events like the Minecraft events, and I don't want them to die. Well, that's probably not a good idea, TSW Shadow Wolf, because if the next watch party, there's also extremely low... For those of you guys who are just going to come to this one, it's like, that's not how it works. If there's continuously low attendance, I'm just going to get the same message and be like, okay, well, they'll only come to a watch party if I say it's the last one, so I'm just going to not do them anymore. Because I can't make every watch party be the last one. So it'll be it's not just the one thing. It's like I want to see if you guys actually like watch parties, or if it's just, you know, a privilege being left to the wayside for when it's convenient. Anyway, Slashy, thank you for the $5. I really appreciate it. Very kind of you. Very base. Thank you very much. Says, when you started talking about UK citizens being too polite. What's this? Oh, Whitest Kids You Know sketch. Will you give him a sexual favor when you are peeing on my leg? You must turn your whole body to follow your head. And, well, you must stop peeing on my leg to do anything else. So how will you provide these sexual favors you'll offer? The 2 minutes and 30 seconds of uninterrupted pissing as well, by the way. The stream has not wavered. It is full strength.
Best man win.
Okay. That's me after a 6-hour stream, by the way. If I don't take any bathroom breaks, that would be me. Alright. With that said, have you ever thought about doing character/narrative analysis videos? I feel like you'd be good at that type of content. Honestly, I think so too, but I don't know. Like, I like streaming. I like live content. It's fun. I like talking to a chat, and the sort of preparation, like pre-made, prepared content that would be, doesn't really, like, fit in with the vibe of my favorite type of content to make, but I'd probably enjoy it on the side. Like, maybe if I wanted to make, like, a few videos just doing like media reviews, I could do that just on the side as I do what I already do, but I wouldn't switch to it, you know? I wouldn't make it my new thing. Anyway, guys, with all that said, I think here is where I'm going to wrap it up for the night. I really do appreciate you all coming out, and I hope to see you guys the day after tomorrow, my next stream. How do you avoid climate doomerism? You just don't doom about it. Dooming does nothing about it. And you just remember that nothing ever happens, okay? You always have to remember, nothing ever happens. With that said, guys, thank you all so much for watching today. You've all been amazing, lovely little pog champs living in my computer. Oh god, that's loud. And as always, I want to thank you for coming. I want to thank you for your support, even if you're just a lurker. I appreciate you hanging out. I especially appreciate you if you contributed financially. Thank you for the donations. I obviously, thank you for, taking out of your own personal funds for that. It means a lot. And of course, thank you to everybody chilling out in chat, talking, and keeping things entertaining and keeping the vibe up. You guys are awesome, and I love you all very much. With that said, have a good one, everybody. I'll see you the day after tomorrow, I hope. Doo-doo fart.